Give us an intro.
Hello, welcome to the Little Slice podcast, where we discuss all things music related that we care about. I'm Dan Roberts, one of you, one of your four co-hosts for this here podcast.
I thought you were going to say like this evening of listening pleasure.
Which way are we going around here? We haven't said so at all.
My name is Marek.
There we go.
Oh, there we go. Anything else for you?
Nope.
You not got a surname?
Nope.
Safe.
Yeah. Cool.
I don't want to be checked up on Facebook, you know. I don't want this to like blow up and get too
The
famous.
The artist formerly known as Marek.
Yeah.
Inundated with Facebook friends, you know.
Okay.
My name's James, and I play the drums, so I have no opinion. It's worth having or worth hearing.
Yeah, and I'm Spike, and I don't know why I got invited on here, but I'm going to do my best. Oh.
Well, that's all.
I say we're like 20
That's tough,
seconds in
isn't
and
it?
you're already lowering the tone.
Damn it.
Already
Why am I here,
No one
guys?
likes me. Ooh.
Why am I here?
I guess I'll come on the podcast.
Too
Right.
cool for podcasting, I like
So,
it.
Dan, what are we talking about this week?
Well, you know, I thought I'd go over the general structure of the show before we just jump
Oh.
right into it, you know.
Oh boy.
What's the 5 Ps? Planning prevents piss poor performance.
Hey.
No, it's proper planning prevents piss poor performance. It's 6 Ps.
6.
Piss poor.
I'm here
No,
to talk about music, not maths. All right.
proper planning prevents piss poor performance. That's 6 Ps.
6. Yeah.
So here on a Little Slice, we'll each pick a record each week and go in rotation. So this week was my pick. Next week, I believe it'll be yours, Marek,
Yep.
and then Jim, and then
I've actually
Spike.
somehow managed to sit in the right spots for that
I
to work.
know.
yeah. Isn't it nice how these things work out?
That is proper planning.
Magic.
So we'll each pick an album and then throw it out into the group and then discuss it each week. And towards the end, we'll chuck in some new listens that we've got going on at the moment. So I picked the album this week. Started off strong with an all-time classic.
Strong is a word.
It's already begun.
The hot takes are coming
It's
in, boys.
getting heated already. Good God. So I picked Hunky Dory by the legendary David Bowie.
So before we start, I actually wanted to do a little sort of testing here. What do you reckon its peak position in the charts was, and when do you reckon that was?
Oh my
'Cause
god.
I have the answer. Excuse me.
That's cheating.
This is a game. We got to play. Come on.
Didn't it come out in the 70s?
Came out, I believe,
1971.
71.
Did it?
71. Yeah.
I was going to say 75.
I've got all the info here. 17th of December, 1971.
I think. I don't know. Someone else go first.
Oh man.
Well, I'm not going to lie, I've seen it, so...
Oh, okay.
It's on us,
Sound
then,
like
boy.
you two.
It's on us.
1v1.
Well, that's the
You
thing.
reckon,
Like,
Mark?
this is the closest brush to Bowie I've ever had. Like, I really don't care. So
Yeah.
yeah, I know.
Brush with
So,
Bowie.
My brush with Bowie. That's the episode name. So like, I don't know. Like, was he a high charter in his career?
Bowie was popular.
He was very popular. This was just after he'd got quite popular.
Was this album before, or after the one with the Ziggy Stardust with the bolt?
So that's Aladdin's Sane,
Oh.
which was after this record.
Would-
But he had his self-titled before this record,
Right.
which had...
I think at this point he'd signed to like a 3-album deal.
Yeah. So this is like a run of 4 records. This is the first
Right,
of that. But he did get some success before this one.
Hey boys, remember when music labels didn't exist to just screw us over? I don't. Oh gosh, because like obviously, as far as my knowledge of Bowie goes, everyone just knows the Lightning Bolt, so I assume that's where his career peaked. If that
Well,
was
I mean, the album after this was The Rise and Fall of Ziggy Stardust and The Spiders
That's
from Mars.
the big one.
That's the one everyone knows.
Wait, so am I getting the Bolt and Ziggy Stardust? That's 2 different entities.
So
I'm learning
yeah,
here.
the Bolt is Aladdin Sane,
Huh.
which is I've got the record right over there. I can show it to you in a bit if you'd like.
Yeah, as you can see, I did my homework
Yeah.
right around the album.
My favourite
Who
part of
is
the
David
podcast
Bowie?
so far is the visual cue that Dan just gave.
Yeah.
Yep.
Pointing off.
Are you
over
all
the corner.
looking at that, listeners at home?
When did this peak at its position in the chart, and what was that position?
I'm gonna. Oh, I don't know. I'm gonna say it was maybe.
Oh, you hadn't seen.
I'm just
I
gonna say
hadn't
one.
seen the date.
Oh,
Take a wild guess and say it was like, I don't know, number 8 in the chart.
What year?
Super specific, why not? What year? It came out in 71, yeah?
yeah.
I'm gonna just guess 72.
Okay, a year after release.
I'm going the opposite way. I think it was after he died.
Oh.
Whoa.
I think because that always happens, and I think it was just a year you want.
Just a year and a position.
Okay, I'll say 2017 because he died right at the end of 2016 because I just googled it. And I'm gonna say number 1.
You're going to say number 1.
Yep.
Okay, well,
Mhm.
I'll tell you, you were on the right track.
Okay.
It peaked at 24
Okay.
in 2016.
Oh.
It's been 3 weeks at 24.
Ah, there you go.
That's funny
There
because
you
I peaked at 21
go. It's all been downhill since then.
and I'm still 21.
So yeah, so,
So I was way off.
yeah,
Way off.
you were way off, but as Jim said, the man died and got some chart success. Obviously,
really are
Black
starting this
Star
on a
was.
sobering notion.
Mate, I was gutted when he died.
I imagine.
That's the hardest celebrity death has ever hit me.
Well, I imagine like some of his other albums must be higher up on the charts.
Yeah, well, he just released Black Star, didn't he?
Yeah, I just released Black Star. I think that was
Would-
commercially, at least in these days, it was the most successful.
Yeah, and obviously, I think Ziggy Stardust would have been higher up than that.
I can actually check that. I don't know why I'm.
Well, yeah, let's check it. So I'll just run over why I picked it. It's the best album of all time. There we go. Now this is my favorite album.
Sorry, I've just seen Dancing in the Street.
Oh,
that is a tune. I can get behind that one.
That peaked at number 7 in 1985. That's around when it came out.
That is that's quite the song. I'd say that's 50% a terrific tune, mainly because David Bowie's on it, but then Mick Jagger's on it, so that's a massive downfall for
That's
the song.
probably why it charted quite highly, though. As much as I hate to say it, I'm sure Mick Jagger probably had a lot to do with that.
I'm sure he did, but he's shit. So yeah.
Hey, he's still relevant today. Will.i.am, ever heard of it?
Yeah, but
Oh no, let's not get into all of it. I was just about to start reeling off lyrics from that song.
I'll just chuck a clip of
Yeah.
Mick Jagger in that song.
You can go hard or you can go home. You can go hard.
Is there a bit about Pythagoras?
Yeah.
Oh no,
He's like,
trigonometry.
hard like trigonometry
And geology.
geology.
Anyway,
It's a wordsmith, that one.
yeah.
Oh, it's great. But yeah, this is my favorite album of all time. It probably moves about sometimes in that list, but generally I'd say that this is my favorite album. So I'm gonna very much have a positive opinion for the whole thing, and I picked this one because I thought it would be funny to make Marek listen to it because he hates David Bowie.
There's just no breakdowns.
Should we sort of go over like the general genres that we're all
That's probably a good
into
idea.
mostly?
Yeah.
I'm really into Christmas songs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It must be hard for you, like throughout
The rest of the
January
year,
to November.
Mate, the rest of the year is just quiet.
Wait, no, that's where the good stuff comes out because no one's looking for it.
Yeah.
To be fair,
that's
you gotta
true.
dig deep.
Yeah. But yeah, so I'm more into the. I stray away from the Christmas songs throughout the rest
I
of the
respect
year.
that.
But I'm a big fan
Big fan.
of the indie rock sort of genre, and I'd say that's probably my go-to. But I'll dip my toe into whatever I feel I'd like to.
Cheeky
So,
out of season happy birthday song.
yeah,
Mm. Yeah.
I feel like that song's never out of season, really.
That's
Someone's
true.
birthday song.
Birthday's a year round. I
Mm.
forgot the chords for Happy Birthday the other day at a gig, so I just made everyone sing it.
What a showman.
Fucking
I guess I would qualify as run-of-the-mill emo boy.
Mhm.
B-O-I boy, obviously.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that
Because millennials, am I right?
because millennials, am I right? Oh, I'll tell you what. Yeah, emo boy, that's what I'm going to put myself down as.
What would you say is the golden standard of it? I know we're getting off topic. But what would you say is the golden standard of
30
emo
Cheers for
music?
Sweet Revenge.
3 cheers, yeah.
That just went right over my head and made me punch
Tell
my
you what.
mic.
30 Cheers for Sweet Revenge is like
Not even the best My Chem album.
emo. It's not even the best My Chem album, but it's the emo album.
I thought that was a band. I was like, I've never heard of them.
All right, so one of these weeks I'm going to pick a My Chem album.
Yeah. I would say probably quite similar to Dan. Indie rock. I occasionally will listen to stuff that's a bit more shouty or whatever you'd want to say. And throughout uni, I was hanging out with loads of people who are into hip hop, so that's kind of a little bit of hip hop, but mainly just like dead generic stuff.
Fair play. For me, I'm sort of quite eclectic with it, so I go everywhere from like gangster rap to musicals.
Oh, mister, I listen to everything.
Right.
It's gotta be one of them.
I'm sorry that I enjoy things, Dan. I'm sorry that me having joy upsets you so. But I think mostly recently it's been sort of folk punk.
Is that like
Alright.
Frank Turner?
Folk punk, yeah, Frank Turner.
Name
specifically.
another folk
Yeah.
punk artist.
Beans on Toast.
Would you call him folk punk?
Isn't he
He's
acoustic?
folky, yeah.
He's folky, but not punky. Beans on
Ducking
toasty.
Punches.
Okay, give it.
There's like
Yeah,
Validating your genre.
they're all the same label, extra mild. There's all the folk punk.
but like Salty Dog, like is that folk punk? They have violins, but they're all
I
really
sort of,
angry.
I think, I actually went to a, there was a folk night going on around here,
Mm.
and the quote I got from some woman is that all music is folk music, which I think is very
Whoa.
deep, but not very helpful.
Yes, my favorite folk band, Metallica.
Yeah.
Kendrick Lamar.
Yeah, so there are genres all merging in, I
Yeah,
guess.
we cover just about everything.
Yeah, and we named the podcast after Watsky's Little Slice.
Yeah, we
so
did. Yeah, we did.
that's something that do you listen to Watsky, Spike? I know
On
these
occasion.
two do, but like,
On occasion, yeah.
fair enough.
When I subject him to it at 10 a.m. in the morning when I'm aggressively rapping on the other side of the wall.
Yeah, that's fair
See,
enough.
Watsky isn't really the kind of rap I listen to. I'm more MF Doom.
You know,
like that.
MF Doom's alright.
You are a lyricist. He is literally the one you should be listening to.
I listened to him. It's just, he's not on my list.
Shame. Anyway,
Tell you what.
David Bowie.
Yeah, so
I was going to say, I feel like it goes without saying that as we are all of the musical type, our genre is related to the kind of music we also make. Because
Yeah.
we also
Yeah.
make music.
Yeah.
and that brings us to the sponsor for this week.
Ah.
This episode is sponsored by Handshakes and Formal Attire.
Actually doing it now.
The new EP from local Cardiff band Sienna.
Jim, you're literally wearing your Sienna t-shirt right
You
now.
are.
I am. It's almost like we planned this. We
Well-
didn't plan this.
It's not about, also, two of us are wearing Marek's merch.
And one of those two is Marek.
Let's do it, Marek, yes.
Be your own biggest fan.
Hey, if I won't gas at my band, no one else will. That said, shout out to my nan. She loves scavengers.
Well, with that said, should we hear some of the EP?
Yes.
Oh yeah, I'll put a stinger in now.
Noise.
You're hearing the beautiful, soothing tones of my voice, both in speech.
The dulcet
And
tones
music.
of your own creator.
So yeah, let's get onto
Oh, yes.
Hunky Dory by David Bowie, the greatest album of all time. So we start off strong. Changes. That's a good tune, isn't it?
It's a pretty good tune.
It is
Yeah.
a tune.
It
It is definitely 3 minutes and 36 seconds of tune.
Yeah, I'll take that.
One of
That's,
the,
that's about as positive as it's
Yeah.
gonna get from Marek.
Yeah.
one of the 3 singles that came from the album, I believe.
It is, yeah. So it would be that that Life on Mars and Are You Pretty Things?
No.
What's the other one?
Actually, Changes came on a 2-part with Andy Warhol.
Oh, okay.
yeah.
So
Yeah, that's a turnaround.
Is that a double A side then? Is it?
No, it's an A side and a B side.
Oh yeah. Well, I would not have expected Andy
No.
Warhol to be a single.
Me neither. I'm surprised it's on Changes, to be honest.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's jump into Changes.
Gonna play a bit of it now and then we'll talk about
Yeah, I'll
it.
play a bit.
Okay.
Changes. Turn and face the strain. Changes.
So we're gonna like
Wanna
pause
be
there.
a richer man.
We don't have to pause. That's the magic of editing, Jim.
Oh damn!
We have the
Incredible
technology.
what can be done
boys.
these days.
He fancy.
So yeah, go ahead with it, because I love this song. I love every song on this album.
You
That's
were,
going to be my opinions.
before the podcast started, you were saying that this was on the Shrek 2 soundtrack, but covered by someone.
Yeah, who's it by?
Butterfly Bouncer.
Butterfly what? Belcher.
Boucher.
What? What?
I haven't a clue.
Well,
I have no idea who that is.
Featuring Bowie on additional vocals.
oh,
he had something to do with it.
he was involved.
That
Oh my God.
right, Shrek 2 butchered that tune, and it absolutely disgusts me when it comes on.
I disagree. I think Shrek 2 raised it up into the upper echelons of
Yeah.
art.
Of pop
Also,
culture.
apparently Bananarama had a crack at it.
Oh,
That
Jesus.
doesn't.
Can always
surprise
count
me.
on those guys.
Yeah.
Well-
So who wants to jump in first on changes?
I have a fairly inoffensive take on Changes, which
That's
is
good.
I think it's a good song. I feel a bit like. Well, see, one thing I should note is I had never listened to this album
Yeah.
or really heard that many of the songs on it until. Oh shit, my pizza's here.
That was the last time I heard the album. Magic of editing.
Right. Now that Marek's finished talking about shit, let's get back onto this podcast.
I'm sorry, I just had to talk about your EP for 5 minutes.
Oh no! Wait, we're actually recording.
Wow.
Yeah.
Just got that absolute par. We got it. We caught it.
So Jim,
Now I've had my pizza.
you've
Some of it.
had your cheesy and tomato goodness.
It was pretty good. Yeah, I listened. I had never listened to the album before this week. So I was like, shit, I better do some research. So when I was going on a walk around my job, I would. That's okay. I would play it. But I was playing the 2015 remaster,
Yeah.
which does not have much bass in it at all.
No, it's not great.
And I was listening to it through like in-ear headphones that are sort of designed to have a bit more of a bass, I suppose, end to it than actually a normal ones would. I don't know.
I'm
what
sorry
I've
to
set
interrupt.
up.
Sorry, I just tried to yawn outside of the mic zone. I just dribbled a little bit.
Oh my god!
I enjoy how all of us looked at each other like, what's going on? Like,
Yeah.
is anybody in on this?
That's gonna sound really weird when you're listening to it. And
Yeah.
you just hear Spike trying not to like giggle. So yeah, dribbling aside, and I felt this is Changes is one of the songs where I felt like that was most like it just sounds really thin,
Yeah.
which isn't a knock on the song itself because that's not really
Yeah.
anything that he can
The-
control.
The remaster does not do any of it justice. It's a bit of a shame, but I guess
what
that's.
formats do you have it on?
So I've got it on vinyl, and I have the remaster on my phone, but that's because you can only get the remaster on streaming.
Yeah, that's fair.
It is sort of just part of the downfall of it initially being released in 1971 and it being mastered for vinyl, because you naturally get a lot more of a bass response
Right. Okay.
on vinyl. So when they're recording it, they're probably not. It's probably part of the recording as well, to be fair.
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
if you listen to the record,
Mm-hmm.
it's gonna naturally bring out that bass end.
Mm-hmm.
So it is sort of what it is. But yeah,
Yeah.
the remaster's not really. It doesn't help it at all.
No.
It just makes it a bit louder. But then
Yeah.
that just brings out the fact that there's not that much bass in the
Right.
mix already.
Yeah. But aside from that, that was one that even though I hadn't heard the album, I knew obviously of that song. I do think I had only heard the Shrek version until this week, which is a bit of a travesty.
And how much better is the Bowie version?
No,
the answer.
God
I think
damn.
I think it's better. I think it's better. I
When
can't
was
really
last-
remember.
Have you heard the Shrek version for a while?
No, it's
Alright.
been a while since I've watched Shrek 2, surprisingly. I keep getting it confused with Funky Town.
Yeah, it's not Funky Town.
Wait, no, I just got it. The guy is Bowie singing like the vocals in that the whole way through, or is that
No,
Butterfly
I
guy
don't
doing
believe
it?
he is. I'd be upset at myself if he actually was.
Oh my word.
Okay, I already don't like.
Here we go,
this.
boys. Here we go.
Oh Jesus, turn it off. Yeah, no, yeah,
I remember it so clearly.
yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that very
Okay.
well.
So that's the Shrek 2 version.
David Bowie version's
Legendary.
better.
Yeah.
I swear it was in something else.
It probably was.
Mm.
It's a very famous song, but like the amount of people who don't realize that it's a Bowie track is,
Mm.
is ridiculous.
I fall in that
Yeah.
category. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's mad.
yeah. Go on then, Mark. What do you think about this song?
Well, on the note of the lack of bass and such, because
Mhm.
like I said, this is my first proper foray into the world of Bowie.
Which I'm not trying to judge or anything, but that baffles me that you've reached the age of 21.
You had to think then, didn't you? You had to think how old I am.
I forget because like everyone in our year is
Oh,
like a
no.
year older than us.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, no, it's just like
Yeah, I'm old. All right.
got held back.
I get held back. I failed the year.
So the first time I properly got into music anyway, here's a bit of backstory for you, was bloody My Chemical Romance's Danger Days album, which was like 2011. That was the first year I properly got into music anyway. As a general rule, anything that sort of predates 2001, I just gloss over. just never really cared to go back. I mean, don't get me wrong, I adore Frank Sinatra.
That's the one thing.
That's it. That's as far as I
The
go.
one pre-2000.
Yeah, that's the best I got. Otherwise, I just don't like the Beatles. Really don't like
Yeah,
Queen.
but you have a very controversial take on the Beatles.
Ah, they
Are we
just-
ready to get into that right now?
No, that's another
I
episode.
When we bring in
I
like
think
Sgt.
we
Pepper's
should,
or something.
we should. Oh, I'm not doing Sgt. Pepper. Look, right, I love the Beatles, but that's. a
I'm
bad
just
album.
saying a Beatles album. We bring it to Marek and
Oh
we get
yeah,
to hear this hot take of his.
I'll definitely chuck Revolver in at some point.
I'm
That's
telling you, boys, Back in the USSR is the best Beatles song.
It's not.
That's your take.
Oh,
it's madness, isn't it?
Oh,
Back in the USSR is
no.
a banger, boys.
I mean, it's a good song, but
The
that's
best
because they
Beatles
have
song.
Yeah,
loads
right.
of really good
Madness.
songs.
They got loads of songs.
They do have quite a few songs.
Yeah.
They got a couple of what I would call songs, but Back in the USSR. Now,
Anyway,
that is
back
true jam.
to Bowie.
Oh yes. So yeah, obviously going. Never really cared much to listen to any Bowie. So first, I'm listening to a full album. Yes, I listened to the remastered, so maybe I missed out on some of the quality. This song though, recognized it. Probably recognized it from Shrek.
Yeah, as most do.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it was alright. Some interesting stuff in the lyrics. What was the one line that particularly grabbed me? I really like the warm impermanence line. I enjoyed that. I watched the ripples change their size but never leave the stream of warm impermanence. I like that. Yeah.
That's pretty fancy.
He's got some pretty cool lyricisms, to be fair. Lyricisms. Yeah, that's what I'm going to go with. He's got some pretty cool lyricisms.
Yeah. Do you know, I'd never actually knew like what the lyrics were in the chorus, and they're not even that particularly mind-blowing, but I think it's the way that the two kind of like the two kind of different lines in it almost seem they come back round to the same place,
Yeah.
don't they?
When he said ch-ch-ch, that really spoke to me.
Oh yeah. I was
The
like,
cadence
wow.
is very Bowie.
Yeah. It really struck me strongly, that
Yeah.
one.
I have some interesting little facts.
You're not going to say your opinion on the song at all. Just Spike is
I'm
the
gonna
fact
read.
man.
I'm gonna read stuff. No, I'll just give little bits and then we sort of react to it.
We don't pay
So,
Spike enough to have an opinion.
so a quote from David Bowie about the song Changes is started out as a parody of a nightclub song, a kind of throwaway, and then apparently just sort of developed from there and became what I think is probably one of the best on the album.
Yeah,
Very strong
It's-
opener
it's-
to the album.
I think in terms of not easy listening, but you know,
No, it's definitely the most accessible.
yeah, it's one of the more accessible ones. That and Life on Mars. and
Yeah.
so-
What?
This is a song that like whenever it comes on when I'm like walking down the street and my headphones are sort of, it's a good feeling to sort of walk with the beat of it.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think that's an interesting point you mentioned about it, like it being a parody of a nightclub and how, you know, I don't know what he's considering to be a nightclub song, but the aim of the game with them is to be as catchy and sort of memorable as possible. Because I think the best songs on this album, I could probably say there's about 5 of them, are the ones that are like a bit shorter and a bit more succinct and a bit just like just easy to get into.
Yeah, he does have a tendency, and we'll get onto it, but he does have a tendency to sort of not really give a shit if you want to listen.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, thank God for that.
And that's something I love about this album, but I can completely understand why it's not the best thing for everybody.
Well, sorry, I didn't realise Rick Wakeman does the keys in this.
What? Professor Snape?
That's actually quite funny. I hate you.
That wasn't
Rick
even
Wakeman.
a joke.
It wasn't a good joke, but
Rick
that the same
Wakeman was
year
in
as
Yes.
Bowie, so like we're safe.
Wakeman was in
Whoa,
Yes.
yeah, that's true.
I don't give a shit about Yes.
Well, I'm just saying Rick Wakeman was on the album Jesus. You don't need to go after the guy.
So suddenly I've got to pick a Yes album. All right.
You will not like Yes.
Probably not.
Yes, are very prog.
Very prog. But yeah, I believe Rick Wakeman's prog. Prog? Yes.
Yeah, he's very prog.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's something I didn't realise about the album. And also on we have Mike Ronson on strings.
Okay.
It's giving you little bits of information for you.
So
Mark
now that we've heard
Ronson's
your
dad.
facts about it, what's
An
your
opinion.
opinions about it?
My opinion is I think it is probably one of my favourite songs on the album. I think it has maybe a bit formulaic, but it's got the catchy hook and a beat that you can move to. But I don't think that's a negative at all for this. I think, like you said, Bowie sort of has a tendency to sort of veer off the road a bit with
Look,
his music.
he does, but I think on every album he's released, he can sort of afford to do that because he has such strong commercial tracks.
Oh yeah, the singles
And-
for this
and the
album
amount
definitely bring it in.
Of albums he recorded and released within his lifetime, he has more than enough to make up a full album. Like, multiple albums of just the bangers.
Oh god, yeah.
Yeah.
And this is definitely one of them, in my opinion.
The best of Bowie album, there's just an hour and a half of silence.
Oh my god.
I'm joking. I'm
joking.
I'm not that against Bowie. Right? I'm not that against him.
You get some angry letters coming in for that one.
So is it just you find him boring?
Yeah,
Do you
I
find
mean-
this song boring, or is this one of the
No,
more
this is
pleasant
alright.
ones for you?
This is all right. It's, as a general rule, obviously it's product of its era, so production it's not too
Of
wild.
course.
Although I did, I think actually I can't think. It was probably a couple of the songs on the album, but they do some fun stuff with the vocals in stereo. And I was
Yeah, no, he was definitely influenced by the Beatles, one of your other favorite artists.
Back in the US,
in production side of it.
Mm.
I think the production, to be honest, like although it is that issue of the remasters really bad and it's not mixed for this time, the production on the album's better than most of the stuff I hear now.
Well,
Yeah.
Like
No, it's good.
like Body Snatcher by Scavengers.
Oh, you had to go there. No, it doesn't do much for me.
Yeah,
But Changes is a good little happy bop.
fair enough. So shall we scoot over to Oh You Pretty Things, track
Which
2?
I preferred.
You preferred it?
I really like the lyricism in it.
All right. Well, let's have a little snippet of it, and then we'll get right back to it.
Oh, you pretty things. Don't you know you're driving your Robinson insane? Oh, you pretty things.
Okay, so
Oh, am I going to start off this
Yeah,
one?
go on.
Okay.
'cause
Well,
you just said a very
I
controversial thing.
yeah.
and,
Well, I think that this song it gets worse as soon as the chorus comes in. I think
I wholeheartedly disagree.
I think honestly, the reason why I think that is when I was listening to this song for like the first time, the piano bit, I was like, wow, this is a lot of piano. Like
it goes
starts
on for
with
a while.
a bit of piano, and I was like, oh, I can't see myself liking this. But then when he starts singing with the piano, it's an interesting sort of chord progression, or like
Yeah.
interesting that he goes through, but I just found it to be more like compelling almost to listen to, in the sense that when it's got a bit of like gravity to it, or a bit of for want of a better word, like seriousness.
Yeah.
And I think once that chorus comes in, it's just kind of like, oh, it's a bit silly. It's like, it's one where I can imagine them doing that live, and like, I could imagine the first half of that song being like a really profound moment if you were watching him live, because it's just him with the piano, and I just like liked the way that it sounded basically. But then as soon as the rest of it comes in, it just kind of, and I know that's the effect he's going for, but like the vocals get dead ropey, and like I don't know. It's one of them where if it could have stayed the same the whole way through, I'm sure the majority of people would have thought that's a waste of a song on the album. But for me, because it just struck a chord like that first bit, I would have been happy with sticking with that.
Yeah, you're wrong. Nah, I find it to be one of the better crafted songs on the album, like as a song, much like Changes is. But I think the amount of the sort of preamble until you get to the chorus is perfect to build to the chorus. But I feel if it went on any longer, it'd just be too much. I think when the chorus does kick in, it lifts it up like a really good amount without going too far with it.
Yeah, well, no, obviously it needs to have a change in it, definitely. And I do think, the structure of it, like, and going back to that piano bit, but there's a bit after, like he goes into like a piano break, and it's literally just like a load of chords that just seem to jump like all over the place, and then he loops back around. And I do think it is like a well-structured song, I just wish that he did something that sort of kept on the same path, maybe, as the thing.
I like especially when the chorus comes in, it's all sort of together. It's sort of quintessentially Bowie. If you want to show someone like that is so clearly his sort of sound. If you wanted to show someone what Bowie was like, this is one of the songs you would play him.
Yeah, that's very true. It's got his mark all over it.
Oh god, yeah.
Which is what surprised me, actually. Obviously, I'm very much so clinging to the I know nothing about this guy, because that's kind of my whole deal this episode. But he's kind of silly in this song. Like
he's silly in a lot of songs.
And I thought he was a very serious guy.
No.
Yeah.
he has his serious moments.
Yes.
There's sort of a seriousness underlying what he's trying to say, but he doesn't take himself too seriously while trying to say it.
Because his last album was Black Star.
Well, yeah. His last album he did write whilst he had cancer.
That one is a lot more serious.
So, but there was that one song with the music video that's all very dark overtones and stuff, and that was, if I remember correctly, super serious.
Yeah,
so I was like,
about him.
That's about him dying.
About to die.
Yeah. So I was like, this is Bowie. This is all Bowie does. Don't vibe it. And then to come into the Homo superior. I was like, what?
Yeah. No, he definitely. Is quite lighthearted with a lot of his songs. Kooks is a very stupid song on this album.
Yeah, there's a lot of sort of flamboyance to him, which you see in a lot of his sort of personas.
Yeah, Andy Warhol is that the name of the song title? Andy Warhol.
We'll get on to Andy Warhol.
We'll get to that.
While we're on the topic of him being silly. Andy Warhol.
So just for a little bit of context for the audio listeners, Marek is now swilling around in what is essentially like a big gin glass that looks like a wine glass.
I mean, it says gin
Pepsi
on it, so
it's not even Pepsi. The effects work
but
better.
It's essentially a gin glass.
It works better. Look, I'm just trying to explain. He's like swirling around like in Pepsi.
Coke in a goblet.
Offering up steaming
nice
hot takes about Bowie.
Beatles boys.
Raising a glass to the light. It's a wonderful visual image.
It was a good year, boys. It was a good year.
Oh dear.
Right.
I'd ask Dan for his thoughts on this song, but you have nothing to say but good stuff. So moving on.
On Are You Pretty Things?
If you want to give us a quick summary, I reckon.
No, I think I said what I need to when I said.
Where would you sort of put
speaking to
this
you about it.
in the album?
In the album, like in ranking it. Are we ranking the songs now? Is
well,
that what's
I think
happening?
it would be interesting to hear you rank the songs. Obviously, you're so familiar with the album.
Okay.
So we start with Changes.
Start with Changes. Oh, no.
I'd say track 1.
This is on the. This is really on the spot stuff. Okay.
Get used to it, bitch.
I'd probably put that changes at like maybe a fourth.
Okay.
Fourth on the list. Oh, You Pretty Things. I really like Oh You Pretty Things, so I'd maybe say either 5 or 3. I don't know. Come back to me on that one.
Okay.
And we'll.
I'm going to
figure it
keep
out.
track of this actually.
No, you're really being put on the spot.
Yeah.
Well, I think you can sum it up by saying there's something for everyone in that song.
Oh yeah.
Something for, except for
Everyone.
Mark.
Hey, he liked elements.
No,
of
that's
that
true.
song.
Yeah, you did like it.
I really
Yeah.
like the first verse, to be fair.
How many songs are there on the album?
11. I see, I know my stuff. I researched.
Did his homework. And now we've got to talk about 8-line poem.
So yeah, track 3, 8-line poem.
Wait, so you were putting one second, you were putting changes that are about 4.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah, track 4.
And then you wanted Are You Pretty Thing.
Put it at 3 for now,
Okay.
and I'll see
See
if
if it
it's the
changes
same
mind.
place at the end.
That's quite.
Because there
hard.
might be some changes.
Oh.
Oh,
Some changes.
I will kick you off this podcast.
Mark after the O. It's like Panic at the Disco. They completely ripped off Bowie.
Oh, Rip Off just reminds me of something about Andy Warhol.
All right,
We'll
we'll
get to
get
that.
onto that.
That's going to blow your mind, by the way, and your mind.
I can't wait.
Bold of you to assume.
All right.
Yep.
Okay, so track 3, 8-line poem. I'll just play a little snippet now.
Open shops down on the west side. Lord, cat, I'll find a home. Got the key.
Right. Okay, so 8-line poem, track 3. I love this song.
What?
Yeah. Are you surprised?
Who, you, Dan?
I think that after Changes and Oh You Pretty Things, this is an absolute perfect change of pace.
Oh, I definitely agree. It's so different from the other ones that it's very much set its own space.
They are very much a couple of very commercial tunes, and then this one is not a difficult song to listen to by any means, but it's so much slower and it doesn't change up much in structure. And I think it's just a perfect little in-between track, especially considering that the song after this is Life on Mars.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that sort of sandwiches it between some of Bowie's better known
Yeah.
songs, which I think is a
Yeah.
difficult spot to be
Mhm.
sort of put in, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd never really considered it from that point. I just, because that is a fair comment that, whilst they may not be what you would consider to be like fast songs for Bowie and for that, I suppose for that era, that they're quite upbeat. I don't really like this song. I'm gonna come out and say it,
That's fair
and
enough.
I getting a glare from you now, but I just. I don't typically like long songs.
I'll tell you what, boys.
Oh my god, I can't talk. Yeah, I don't particularly like long songs.
That's a good job it's not a long song then, is it?
Oh,
It's
but
not
it
particularly
feels like a long song, which is, I guess, even more to the point.
What is
Is
it?
I
that
suppose, yeah, the
It's
pacing of the
2
song sort of
minutes
makes it
and
feel...
56.
it's really not even 3 minutes.
Yeah, it's not 3
Oh my god, I've listened to that
it's
song
255.
probably about 4 or 5 times, and it feels like an eternity. I think it is just because it doesn't,
It
it's like you say, it doesn't
change.
change. There's some cool guitar playing, and the piano has like flanger on it, and that's about everything that I know, or phaser,
Yeah,
One
it's
of them
got
ones.
some.
one of them
Modulation
guitar
on it.
things.
Yeah.
And that's literally all I have to say about the song, if I'm
That's-
being totally honest.
Fair enough.
I think... now, I could be completely wrong with this. This is me guessing. But it seems like this song was like sort of the influence for In Always Sunny in Philadelphia. The episode where Charlie sings a song for...
Oh my God.
Nightman Comes.
No, not the Nightman Coming. Not the Nightman Coming.
That's Life
one-
on Mars.
The one where they're trying to get they're trying to win the best bar award, and he writes a song for it.
Is it,
It sounds really similar to this.
Yeah. Well, he's like, you can tell that he's putting on like a Bowie like / Bob Dylan voice.
Oh yeah, it's all about spiders.
Yeah, it's a really weird song. But yeah,
that's a good
it's completely unrelatable, but I just think that's really. I've had that in my head since I listened to it. That's been stuck in my head. Where are we putting it on your rankings, Dan?
I'll put it at like 6.
6?
Maybe a 7.
Okay, we'll put it on 6 and we'll see if anything knocks it off.
Sliding.
Look, I love it, but I love every song on this album.
Yeah,
so
some choices are going to have to be
That's not very hunky dory of you.
Ooh.
I do think there's a lot less to talk about with this one because it is just so stripped back
there's
and
not
simplistic.
loads going on in it. So
Also, there isn't a Wikipedia page for it. So
okay, is that the only one on the album?
that's the only. Oh no, Fill Your Heart also doesn't have one.
Oh, okay.
Oh, I like Feel Your Heart.
Oh, let's try. If only
I'm going to go write a Wikipedia
for
page.
everything you like.
Make it.
I'm going to go write a Wikipedia page right after this.
Fair enough, Marek.
To be honest, like I think Spike just said, like it's not much to say about this one.
Yeah.
I think you got a hit on the head. Pacing wise, I think it's perfect for where it is.
Yeah. As speaking as someone who sits down and just listens to this album, doesn't do anything. This is one of the few albums that I'll just straight up listen to and not have anything on or on the PlayStation or the Xbox or anything. But yeah,
no, I get that.
I think it's perfectly paced within the album.
Oh I like that. It's a sort of nice little slowdown after some of the bigger things. But again, the position on the album is a tough spot for it to hold.
Oh yeah. I think it does an admirable job.
I would agree.
Obviously, it's pretty thin on the ground lyrically.
Yeah.
Like that's kind of given away with the title of the song. But I do enjoy the two tactful cactus. I just don't know. That's what you're gonna go with. That's how you're gonna get your internal rhyming in there with tactful and cactus.
Yeah.
Cool.
Mm.
Not much to say about it. There's only 8 lines
Cool.
in that entire song.
That's completely fine. So
You might have guessed.
biggest song on the album next, track 4, Life on Mars.
Life on Mars.
Question mark?
Mars.
I find
Played
it
it.
really boring.
Ah.
I really didn't care for it, boys.
Right, well before we get into this, let's have a bit of a track.
Not the wrong guy. Oh man, wonder if you'll ever know who's in the best-selling show. Is there life on Mars?
What a song.
Yeah.
I would have to say I agree with Dan on this one.
Oh man, it's got everything going for it.
Mm-hmm.
I think all the instrumentation in it is spot on. The structure is so good. Never get bored in the song. Oh, it's so good. The vocals
I
are
agree with
great.
everything you're saying. It just doesn't do it for me.
It just doesn't connect with
Not
you.
with me.
Mm.
Like it's
fair enough.
lyrically, it's pretty cool. Musically, sound, instrumentation wise, cool. I love what he does with his melodies, but I couldn't just put it on. It just doesn't do it for me.
Mm.
Oh, man.
Despite all
So
the
is-
things it goes
is
on for.
there a specific reason why, or is it literally just that for some reason?
Yeah, it just doesn't connect. Yeah,
Man,
I know.
that must be a sad life.
Oh.
This one managed to reach number 3 in the UK singles charts and stayed there for 13 weeks.
That's a pretty
Fair
impressive
enough.
stay.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah,
Do you know
I
what
just
was number 1?
yeah, I was gonna say
Um,
what's keeping that off.
Yeah.
The Sugar Babes.
What? Can you
Christmas
check?
song.
I can
Christmas.
check. So what was that?
Because I'd be really interested to see who
Wait.
likes anything more than that song.
It must be like the Beatles or the Stones
Well,
or
the Beatles were broke up.
oh, whoops, only that.
Thank God.
3,
What year was this? 1971.
71, yeah. So it was. To be fair, they could have had like, what was Let It Be
Mm.
one of the last ones, or
Yes.
what was the other one?
Well, Love Me Do I think was in there later.
One thing I will give this song is when I was a kid, we used to go on holiday as a family, and we go to this place. And aside from going on holiday to this place, never heard about it anywhere. I mean, maybe saw it in a weather report. But to hear the song and have him just go, yeah, from Ibiza to Norfolk Broads, and it's like, whoa, I went there. I've been to Norfolk Broads.
Whoa.
That's about as emotionally attached to this song as I can get.
I don't think
He
this
said
is
the
the right
place I
charts.
Is it Sugar Babes?
Well, come on, feel the noises here. So keep talking.
Was it 73 that it reached number 3?
It was the year it was released and then stayed there. It said.
What? It's 71 was the year it was released.
Yeah, that's what I. Cause
Now a word
when
from our
released as a
sponsors.
single in '73, it reached the UK.
Oh,
singles.
okay.
So when it was a single.
Oh, okay. So, that's weird. So it probably would have taken a while for it to get big.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess so. Because he's not going to be releasing a single 2 years after the album unless it's worth doing.
I'm really struggling to find this.
I guess he did get massive after Ziggy Stardust, and then Aladdin Sane was. I think Aladdin Sane was next year. It was either that or Diamond Dogs.
Right, okay. How many albums has he done, by the way?
Too many.
I wouldn't be able to count. So, like, there was this, I think it's self-titled, that was in, like, 66 or something like that, which was, like, his first run.
Do you know how old he was when he put that out of curiosity?
I couldn't tell you. He was, what, 69 when he died, and that was in 2016. So...
Bloody, it's been 3 years. Bloody hell.
Yeah. No, I couldn't tell you.
Can't do that.
Probably
maths.
simple maths. I can't do it.
Well, so he would have been 53 in the year 2000. Is that right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
So in the month of July, where it was number 3 on the charts, it was beaten by Welcome Home, Peters and Lee, and I'm the Leader of the Gang. I Am by Gary Glitter. Gary
Lordy.
Glitter beat him out. Oh boy.
That is...
Oh boy, oh boy.
Somehow not the worst thing he did in his life.
Also in the thing, we have Take Me to the Mardi Gras, Paul Simon.
Are there any good songs on there?
I feel like it
Other
goes
than
without
Life on
saying.
Mars?
Live and Let Die.
Oh, with the exception of Live and Let Die, I feel like it goes without saying I know none of those songs.
I don't.
Honolulu
I don't know.
Boogie
I do not know Honolulu Boogie, but
by
I
Mott
want
and the
to.
Hoople.
By who?
No,
You're-
Mott and
he's
the
just
Hoople.
making-
Not Mott and the
The
Hoople.
Mott and the Hoople.
Mott and the Hoople.
Motley
He's
Crue.
like saying noises at this point.
We spent a surprising amount of time not talking about
Yeah.
Mars.
About probably the biggest song on the album.
Jackson
Yeah.
5. Ooh.
I think
Yeah.
you made a good point about the pacing on the previous song, and I think this is like, I guess where it works the other way in that, like, because 8-line poem is so slow, when this one kind of kicks in, it's not a fast song, but because
Yeah.
it's got so much going on, like in the terms of the dynamics and
Yeah.
stuff like that, I think it is like it properly, like, it blew me away, and I knew the song like well, but when I heard the album, the whole way through, but it's just like, yeah, I think it can't really be understated, for me personally, how good that song is.
Yeah.
Would you like to hear what the man himself said about it?
Go on.
He
Do it
summed
in
up
the
the song.
David Bowie accent.
Not a chance. He summed up the song as a sensitive young girl's reaction to the media. Then a couple of years later, he added to that saying, I think she finds herself disappointed with reality. That although she's living in the, doldrums of reality.
Hang on. What year did he say this?
1997.
Yeah. Right. There's there's years that David Bowie just didn't remember because he was so coked up.
I mean,
He
that's
said
why I'm reading this.
he said that he completely blacked out for full years at a time.
That's
What a
impressive.
guy.
That would explain the use of the word doldrums.
Yeah.
Doldrums. She's being told that there's far greater life somewhere, and she's bitterly disappointed that she doesn't have access to it. I don't know about you, but I never really caught that listening to it.
No.
Look, as I said, the man was on a lot of coke, but at the same time, if he wants to think it's about that, he can think it's about that.
Okay.
I don't give a shit.
The question is, Dan, where does it fit on Dan's rankings?
The doldrums of the album, obviously.
I purely because of how well crafted this is. I think it's got to be number 1.
Yeah, no, I gotta
Look,
give him that.
right, you're
Yeah.
gonna hate my number 2, but I think that
If it's Andy Warhol, I'm leaving the podcast.
well, you're gonna be upset.
Oh my god, are you serious?
Well, we're not onto that song yet, so I can't say.
That's gonna
So
be.
cheers for having me, guys. It's been a pleasure.
Are you really you don't have to capitalize.
I don't have to,
everything.
Dan, but you know what? It's the little things that make the difference.
Is it?
Mhm.
Alright.
Keep telling
Just ask
yourself
Marek.
that. Aww.
Yeah.
Well-
So weirdly, I feel like there's not loads to say on this song. It's just
It doesn't.
Not
I don't
anything
think
that
there's
hasn't
much
been
that
said
needs to
already.
be said.
yeah.
Yeah.
There's nothing that we can say about it that hasn't already been said
No.
by
I mean, who doesn't?
music historians and,
Yeah.
and the like.
Who doesn't at least know the song?
Mhm.
And
Did the
those
show
that-
actually? Did the show ever use the song?
Probably.
I feel like it used it as a theme.
I don't.
if
know
it didn't, it's a
or
massive
care.
waste of opportunity.
Mm.
That's another thing that's quite boring. The show.
Yeah, the UK version was better.
Yeah.
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 Which I guess leads us super nicely onto Kooks.
Oh yeah.
Naive's good song.
Shut up. Here's a bit of Kooks.
If you stay, you won't be sorry, 'cause we believe in you. Soon you'll grow, so take a chance with a couple of kooks hung up on
Kooks,
romance.
track 5.
This is on drugs, Bowie, for me. It just is.
I think this is a really fun song, and he just seems like he's having a good time.
I'll definitely say that.
And-
He's
And I'm just,
Enjoying
it
it.
makes me happy to listen to it because it's so goofy.
Would you suggest it's kooky?
I'd suggest it's kooky, yeah. It's a great tune, but I would say that it's probably the weirdest placed one.
because that's following Life on Mars.
Yeah, I feel like maybe Quicksand or something else would have
Yeah.
followed it up better.
Yeah.
But saying that, as I say, I very much enjoy the song. It's
I can imagine that's the
kooky
sort of
little
thing
number.
he was going for. I think you can imagine Life on Mars as sort of that bigger, sort of more orchestral moment, and then
Yeah.
it just going into something so weird and off the wall. I think
Yeah.
that appeals to him quite well.
Mm. Yeah, no, that's a fair shout. I think it does jut out. I think the first time I listened to that, I didn't particularly like it. I was just like, again, this is one a bit like 8-line poem where I just didn't think it really changed that much or went anywhere. But I think the difference is that although it doesn't change, what it does do throughout is good enough, because I think that chorus is really, really catchy. Like, you know, it just sort of stays around in your head after you finish listening through the rest of the album. And that was one bit that I found myself recognizing, you know, on like subsequent listens. Yeah, I think it's just one that has a bit more life to it, you know.
Yeah.
So I really rate it.
Just a fun fact here. Apparently, Bowie wrote this song to his newborn son,
What do you?
the Duncan Jones.
The
which
Duncan
is
Jones.
something we were going to bring up. I think this
What's he up to nowadays,
would be a
Marek?
good time to bring this in, this topic of conversation.
Hey, did you know that Duncan Jones directed Warcraft?
I do now.
Oh, how the
Do you know
mighty
what,
have
right?
fallen.
I know we're a music podcast, but if you allow me to talk about Warcraft for a second, I kind of enjoyed that film, guys.
I think I'm too close to it. I think that's why I didn't like
So
it.
I used to do a film podcast.
I know you did.
And the year of, was it 2017 that came out? I think it was 2017.
2016.
because- Are you sure?
Oh, what year did we start uni?
Because it was directed whilst during the time that David Bowie died.
What year did we start uni?
That was in 2016.
2016.
Because
Yeah.
I definitely had it in Liberty Park with me, see,
Okay.
on DVD.
2016 film.
Okay.
Boom.
Well, at the end of 2016 year roundup that we did in my film podcast, that was the top of my worst list because I hate that film with a passion.
I think I'm way too close to sort of the to the Warcraft universe.
Yeah, but I don't get who the film's for
That's why.
because I feel that Warcraft fans would hate it.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah.
And Warcraft fans don't have a fucking clue what's going on.
Yeah.
I was so confused. That film started, and I was like, "Oh my god, what is happening?"
It was one of those films where I was like, "That's wrong. That's wrong. That's wrong. That's wrong. That's not how that works."
Every
See
character.
also Last Jedi.
Oh no,
Oh
we're not
god.
getting into that. We're not getting into
No,
that.
no. Film podcast.
I'm under no delusions about it being a good film. It's not a good film. It is a burning car crash of a film.
Yes,
You're
it is.
right.
But I still enjoy it
That's mad.
because
Like,
it's just Warcraft media. I'll take it.
Yeah.
Like, it's like we're not going to get a good Warcraft film, so I guess I've got to enjoy the crap ones. It's one of those.
Yeah, but
Fair
it
enough.
doesn't even fully embrace being crap. Like you look
Neither
at
do I.
the Street Fighter films or something like that. Those
Yeah.
Street Fighter with the John Claude Van Damme was like the best line ever.
When he plays Guile.
Yeah, he
who's,
had, like-
who's the lead
Oh, I
character in
know.
that film.
Oh no, it wasn't him. Whoever played M. Bison. He said he had this great quote, which was something like, "On the day M. Bison came to your village, it was the worst day of your life. For me, it was Tuesday." It is the most wonderful piece of dialogue.
Yeah, what happened to terrible but great fucking video
we
game
need-
films?
we need more
I
of this.
miss Mario and Mortal Kombat. Like
First time it was
those were
official.
the great films.
First time it was official that Luigi's last name is Mario.
Mario.
Luigi Mario.
It's so good.
Oh,
Anyway, we're probably a bit off topic
Way
here.
off topic
Little
here.
bit.
yeah, well,
We still talking about Kooks, yeah?
Oh,
Talking
yeah,
about
my-
Kooks, yeah. We haven't done. Where does it go in your rankings, Dan?
I'll put it at 8.
8.
Yeah, 8.
8. Okay, we can always change.
No, it's set in stone. It's been said now. It's been recorded.
Yeah.
For me, it's one of those happy-go-luckies. It's a lot like track 1 for me. They're interchangeable. It's nice. It's a nice little happy jaunt.
It is a little John.
Yeah.
Doesn't really stick with me though.
That's fair.
I don't think so. Something that I feel like our friend Josh would hate this film. This I'm talking about films now. This song.
He would,
because he's all about music is about tension and release
And guitar solos.
and guitar solos.
Getting
but
your friends
brutal
to
double
sing,
kick.
Getting your friends to sing notes that are physically impossible to do.
but Kooks, I don't feel has any tension or release within the
No,
whole song.
No.
But I like
It's quite
that about
floaty.
it. It's just a nice little tune to have on.
Yes.
And as you say, if he wrote it for good old Duncan,
Little Duncan. Little baby Duncan.
little baby Duncan, who he also called Zowie Bowie.
Oh Lord.
Yeah, if he wrote it for little baby Duncan, I can thoroughly see why the song is as it is.
Yeah.
Mhm.
You know?
Kind of thing you can imagine him sort of like leaning over a cop.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. So
Okay.
Singing a song about how one day he's going to direct a steaming pilot.
yeah, but he directed Source Code, and that
I mean-
film's great.
If he's listening to like that while he's developing, they say you need to listen to like Beethoven and stuff when you're a baby to get good. Listening to that is going to make you make some weird shit.
He made Moon. Moon's good.
Moon is good. I like Moon.
Yeah.
Okay, now let's get off the sun. Back to David Bowie. Should we move on to Quicksand?
Yeah, track 6, Quicksand.
If I don't explain what you want to know, you can tell me all about it on the next photo. I'm sinking in the quicksand of my thoughts, and I ain't got the power anymore. Don't believe in yourself.
Start us off, Dan.
I really like this song.
What?
I don't believe you.
I think my list's gonna have to change around because I forgot how good this song is. I love this song. I think it's one of the better ones on the album.
I can certainly find something to enjoy about it.
I think the way the harmonies and the strings and everything work together are really nice.
I was tracked together very well.
It's another one where I don't get bored, despite the fact that it's not like an overly long song, but it's almost 5 minutes. No, it's over 5 minutes long. So
Blimey.
you know, for a 5 minute song, I think it keeps my attention very well for the whole thing.
I would say yes, maybe not to the same extent as you, but I do find something to enjoy about it all the way through.
Yeah.
I have a little bit of information about it here. So, according to this, apparently the lyrics are very much based on things he was talking about at the time. So, Buddhism, occultism, and Nietzsche's concept of Superman.
Okay. He's
Tell
a
us a
strange
bit about
geezer.
Nietzsche's concept of Superman, Dan.
Wears a big cape. Got red boots.
Also, it refers to the magical society Golden Dawn and name checks one of its most famous members, Aleister Crowley, as well as Himmler, Winston Churchill, and somebody I can't pronounce. Juan. I'm not even going to try.
One sheet.
Did Alex Jones write this song?
I think it's another very Bowie song,
Mm-hmm.
and it sort of mixes the line between sort of his own experimental, the stuff he likes to do about spiders and whatever,
Yeah.
and mixes it with sort of the sort of big feeling, more mainstream stuff he makes.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Sort of a nice blend of those two sides of him.
We're not onto the spiders yet, though. That's
Not
the next
quite-
album.
that's
Thank you very much.
You know what I mean? He gets a bit spidery later in his career.
Yeah.
This is like the second, maybe third entry on this album, though, where he talks about Homo sapiens, and it's like
I feel like he
Bro.
learned what that word was. Like,
Yeah.
before he started
Yeah.
writing the album.
I always notice that though. I always try to notice if there's like themes in lyricists, and you're gonna entirely get my genre when I say this, but Ollie Sykes always writes about wolves.
It'd be great
Josh
if he
Ran-
could sing those lyrics.
yeah. Let's not go dragging artists before we even like get off the ground. We're gonna get sued. Josh Franceschi always says like if he has to repeat a line, before he repeats the line, he says, "I said." Stresses me out. Whenever I write stuff, I always talk about bones for some reason and skeletons. And yeah, this one is just again with the Homo sapien references, and I'm like,
Mhm.
I think
bro.
is this one of the album? Because I always know this was a technique he used. I don't know if it was around this time, but he used to just basically write a bunch of poetic sounding crap and cut it up together and just like put it in a hat and just pull bits out and make lyrics from that. Because
I couldn't tell you, but
once you learn that and you look at his lyrics, you're like, oh yeah, I can.
Yeah, possibly.
yeah, he's definitely got that sort of
Sort of chaotic.
Throw it at a wall, see what sticks.
Yeah, and I think, in my opinion, most of it sticks, but I understand
It
if-
makes for some very unique
if you
lyricism.
feel it doesn't.
Mm.
But yeah. So
I would say on this album, on this entire album, this one I found that I liked the bit where it kind of builds up, and it's got like those sort of stabs on the violins or whatever. Again, this is me as a drummer trying to explain what stuff sounds like in the most basic terms.
The noise sound nice.
Yeah, when you do on high pitched string and make noise sound nice, you know. That's like the episode of Always Sunny where he writes the speech for. Anyway, not an Always Sunny podcast.
this podcast is just gonna turn into always some
yeah.
references.
But yeah, this was one that just didn't grab me at any point. Like, I'm quite familiar with the album now, and I have my favourites, and this I don't think is one of them. I think it's got a nice bit, you know, the orchestral bit.
Yeah.
This like kind of break up the main sort of core of the song are nice. They kind of remind me of like Elbow type stuff. Which
a reference I did not think you'd chuck into
well,
conversation about David Bowie.
purely just because they have violins
I'm
and he has violins.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure that they were
They
massively
use the same
influenced by
instruments.
Bowie. To be fair,
Oh yeah, definitely.
they
Mhm.
definitely come from that sort of
Yeah.
string of artists.
Mm-hmm.
Kanye West used strings once. Must
Kanye
be a Bowie
West.
kind of guy.
Kanye West is actually the 18th member of Elbow. But
He
yeah.
wouldn't have anything to do with Elbow because he doesn't believe that guitars are a valuable instrument.
I'll say another little
Oh
You
god.
say it to a drummer.
Yeah, I'm on Kanye's side on this.
Another little fun fact about the song: the producer for it, Ken Scott, had recently just finished working on George Harrison's album "All Things Must Pass."
Mm.
Is that the one with the one George Harrison song on it?
Oh, we'll find out now.
I
Honestly, we
got
are
my
operating.
mind set on you.
I got my mind set
Well, no,
on you.
No, I
doesn't
think
he
this
do While My Guitar Gently Weeps?
Yeah, he did. Well, to be fair,
Come
but
on, Dan,
the
even
best
I know
version
that.
of that song isn't by him.
Is it by?
Well, there was the tribute concert
Oh,
for George
God.
Harrison
Sure.
where Prince comes out and does that solo.
Right.
There are
Is that the one where he
6
throws the
sides to
guitar
this
Yeah, he
up?
throws the guitar and it doesn't come back down.
Yeah, I like that bit. I say we're operating so far out of my comfortable year range. I have no idea who George Harrison is.
There are
Yep.
6
Wait.
sides.
Whoa.
Yeah, no.
Whoa.
Marek just said he doesn't know who George
That
Harrison
is-
is.
Hit me with some songs. Hit me.
Every song by the Beatles.
Really?
Yes,
Oh my
George
God.
Harrison, member of the Beatles.
Can you
George
name
Harrison
Harrison
and the Beatles?
Yeah.
Can you name the 4 Beatles? Like first
Okay.
names. First names.
Ringo Starr.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
We gave you one.
George Harrison.
Yeah.
Oh gosh, one of them gets name dropped on a Bowie album. Literally, one of the songs just gone. He name drops him.
Okay, so think.
No clues. No clues.
Are you sure?
George Harrison, Ringo Starr.
Oh my god, this is
This is
awful.
Mate, I told you I don't like Beatles. Oh god, what's his name? He's the dude dating the crazy lady.
Yoko Ono.
Yoko Ono. Yeah. What's his name? Paul McCartney. That is.
I mean,
That is
you're not
one of
wrong,
them.
but
It's
you're
not
not
the
wrong.
one you're
It's not the one I'm
about.
thinking of, but there's a Paul McCartney and there's
Yeah.
one other.
Probably one of the most famous ones. I would say.
The most
Yeah,
famous.
I would say
one.
the most famous one.
4.
Yeah.
Well, I'm drawing a blank here, lads. Don't
Think
tell
of
me.
the airport in Liverpool.
There's an airport in Liverpool.
Oh,
named
never mind.
named after.
Is that
Yeah.
Imagine.
Oh my god.
yeah, man.
Imagine. No.
Yeah, I know exactly the one.
Someone put him out of his misery, please.
Yeah, what's the name again?
John Lennon.
John Lennon. There it is.
Dan Bull has a song
I
about John Lennon.
Does it actually?
believe-
It's a very good. The hook is great in that song.
I can't believe that
There you go. See,
conversation
that
just
had to
happened.
happen. Didn't know George Harrison was one of the
Whoa.
Beatles.
But yeah, there are 6 sides
Wanna
to
guess
this
that?
Paul McCartney, George Harrison album, and yeah, a lot of them do seem to be featuring people.
Mm.
But yeah, and that's not the song we're on about. About
Why
Quicksand.
were we talking about George
Oh, because
Harrison?
Ken Scott produced
Oh,
this
right,
song as
yeah.
well. He did All Things Must Pass. Okay, so Dan, the $1 million question, unless anyone has anything else to add.
Well, just to
No.
throw back to that last bit of conversation, can we not all agree that music was only invented when Eminem dropped the Marshall Mathers LP?
Oh boy, people are gonna get angry.
Not until Skrillex dropped.
The bass.
Yeah.
I'll put this at
This is any higher than
3.
Are you
Okay,
Yeah.
so are we
So
moving
chuck 'em.
everything down?
Yeah, chuck them down.
I did not see that coming at all.
Neither did I actually.
I really like this song. I think it's
Fair enough.
so good.
I'm like particularly picky with long songs though, so
Yeah, and the
That's
longer
fair
a song goes, the more I need it to justify being long.
yeah.
That's
I
why. Sorry, go ahead.
As just long songs for the sake of long songs. I'm like,
Yeah.
I don't feel like that's what it is though.
again, like these songs don't do much for me in the first place.
Yeah.
So if it already doesn't do
'Cause
much for me,
To me,
Yeah.
I just feel like every part of this song, I'd be gutted if like any of it was taken out.
Mm,
So
okay.
I feel it's completely
Oh, yeah.
justified in being as long as it is. I don't. It doesn't feel to me like a song that has been written to be a long song.
yeah.
Mm.
It feels like he wrote it and then it just happened to be long.
Mhm.
Unlike my song, Voice of an Era, which I wrote specifically to be a long song.
Because you're a money grabbing, heartless, soulless songwriter.
Exactly.
Well, I
Okay,
think
Quicksand at number 3.
Get wrecked.
We have Quicksand at number 3.
so. What's next?
Fill your heart.
Yep, track 7, Fill Your
Oh.
Heart.
This is the second side of the original album.
Aye.
Fill your heart with love today. Don't play the game of time. Things that happened in the past only happened in your mind, only in your mind. Oh, forget your mind and you'll be free. Yeah. The writing's on the wall.
Yeah. Oh god, this ranking's gonna be a mess. That's a fucking great song.
Yeah.
As an introduction to the second side, I think it's perfect because it's like it's definitely an accessible song, but it's still quite strange. And I feel that it just introduces because the whole of that second side is just weird. And I think it
Oh,
just
yeah,
introduces the second side.
Yeah.
Really
Looking at
well.
the song list, yeah.
Yeah. Musically, I think it's a highlight for me.
Yeah.
Just his vocal performance ruins it for me.
Man,
Ugh.
I love how
No, I think it fits
That's the
perfectly.
thing.
I think it fits
do.
perfectly.
It fits, and I appreciate how goofy it is. But for me, it's like,
Yeah.
Can't spin.
Is it-
Musically, and that little piano run, love it.
I love the way that it leads into Andy Warhol. I know you don't.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah, we gotta get to that
but
bit.
like,
We'll get to that.
yeah, I love when it goes and it comes into the
Yeah.
next.
Mhm.
Oh, it's so
Yeah.
good.
So it's one of the songs where I can sort of visualize where I'd be listening to it live. I can imagine like when this coming out in sort of a smoky London bar
With a
full
lot
sort
of cocaine.
Exactly. With sort of the new wave of cool, trendy people with a strange man with funny hair and piano just singing funny tunes. I think I can see that so clearly, sort of visually in my head. And that's what I like about this song. I think it's just a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I wouldn't necessarily argue its merits as a song overall, but I think it's a lot of fun. I think, like Dan said, it does perfectly introduce the other side.
Yeah. No, I think it does a really good job of doing that.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Well, I definitely think it's a highlight on the album. I think it's different. I would say it's probably everything else on the album. It's way more like it's like a jazz song, you know, like you say, it being in like a dead smoky sort of bar. It seems
Yeah.
it's like a jazz song, like the brushes on the.
I think
on
the word
snare
used
drum.
was honky tonk, which I think is perfect.
Yeah, that's it. And it's like, was that him playing the not guitar, the piano?
Piano.
Yeah.
I'd imagine so.
Because like it frustrates me that people can be that talented, because I know he's also very good at a load of other instruments.
Well, yeah. I don't
Um,
know if it'd be him playing it in the studio, but
Sure.
I'm sure he wrote it.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. And that's good enough.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just think it's like we were talking about it while we were playing a bit of it. I think some of the lyrics are like bordering on being like kind of annoyingly straightforward for him in terms of them being like all just about like
Yeah.
preaching being happy all the time and stuff like that, which I'm sure is something he believed in, but I think like we've said, in terms of the instrumentation on it is great.
Mhm.
It's up tempo, it's catchy, the harmonies on the free,
Yeah.
they're really good, and then obviously that high note
I know.
is a laugh.
It is
I
good
just
fun.
love the way that he enunciates the R
Mhm.
like clearly before the high note.
Yeah.
It's great.
You can just imagine being sat like in the studio watching him do that now, going, "What?
Yeah. This
Okay.
is not gonna go over well.
You're the talent, all
Hey,
right."
everyone was on coke, so
Oh
it's
yeah,
all
everyone's
right.
like, "It's amazing, yes, more."
Why isn't he doing that for every song?
And then the second half of the album happened.
Yeah.
Bowie and all of the people that he was around were ahead of the game when it came to coke. Most people got onto that shit in the
Pioneers of
80s,
cocaine.
but he was there right at the start.
Okay, and has anyone else got anything?
I reckon we
So,
should do a
Dan?
rating.
Where are we putting "Fill Your Heart"?
Things are moving around again.
Yeah, we're starting to move things.
Yeah,
which is not easy on my.
we're chucking down "Oh You Pretty Thing" and Changes again, and we're putting it in number 4.
24.
Yeah,
Do
I
you
might
keep everything else
swap.
the same place? Or?
Yeah, I think so. I might swap around Changes and "Oh You Pretty Thing," but we'll come back
Okay,
to that
so
at the end.
you want changes on 5?
Yeah, maybe.
We won't stick that. We'll just move us around a little.
I'm chucking this list together.
On the fly. Yeah. Well, I think if that's everyone's opinion on this one, then we should probably get to
The crown
the
jewel.
the juicy bit.
The one that's
juicy
causing
bit.
the most problems.
Track 8, Andy Warhol.
Andy Warhol looks a scream, hang him on my wall. Andy Warhol, silver screen, can't tell them apart at all.
What a bizarre and fucking amazing song.
Oh.
It's
Yeah.
incredible.
It's something.
Yeah,
We're just going to jump right in.
I think so.
Can I preface all this with Andy walking, Andy tired, Andy take a little snooze.
Oh, it's so good.
Why?
I mean, I
So
wish
many
I had the
levels.
balls to put something like that in a song. It's perfect.
Just
I don't want to say I hate it because it's a very strong word, but this song, I can't do it.
the way this song starts, coming out of Fill Your Heart.
Mm-hmm.
Can we just hear that? Because I listened to it through all the way, but I paused. Okay.
It's even better in stereo
yeah.
because it bounces
Yeah,
all over your
It's
head.
great. I love this.
I genuinely can't believe that you two don't think this is like one of the high spots on the whole album. I listened to this, I was like, this sounds like it could have come out like 2 years ago. This bit I found was quite funny as well.
Yeah.
Because I don't really know, but I always thought he had like a fair bit of
Do you want to play a bit more?
Yeah, let's give it a little one.
mysticism, or like he sort of tried to keep himself as quite a mystical
Yeah.
figure. I don't know whether that's accurate, but then like he's just sort of talking about him laughing in the studio. Like it's trippy, but you know they laugh at the director or producer. That's the word, isn't it?
Oh man, it's such a great song.
I think it's a fantastic song.
I think the way it opens is great. It's really strange. It completely takes. If you're listening to this album, obviously you've just flipped over the side. You've listened to Feel Your Heart, and then this comes on with the weird computer beeps and boops that start.
I do like the way it starts.
And all the him talking over it. It's great. I think it's so weird. It completely takes you out of it, but it makes you listen more.
Mm-hmm.
And then the song starts, and I love that that little guitar run at the start.
I do like that guitar bit. In fairness,
It's great. And then he starts singing just utter shit, and it's great.
See, normally I'm all about singing about absolutely nothing just for the sake of it. I think it's just a fun way to write music. But I don't know. I sort of struggled to connect with this one after sort of the really interesting intro bit. It just kind of lapsed into what I think is a sort of more mediocre song.
ooh, strong words.
Strong words, but that is my opinion on it. I don't think it's that as bad as I have been dramatising for comedic effect, but it's, I think, one of the slightly weaker song from the album. I did have a point, but it's completely jumped out of
I'm
my head.
sure, like, I to be honest, I've never really got many people's opinions on this song, but I'm sure even within like the David Bowie fan base, this is probably a big divide.
Yeah, I can see that. Well, I think a lot of the this kind of song is sort of lost on more modern way of listening to music, because this was obviously built for a time where you'd listen to the whole album in a sitting, and that was sort of the idea.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas now we're sort of used to listening to music song by song.
Those poor souls in the 70s have to sit through this song without shuffle.
Oof.
think-
Why have you got Master of Puppets on?
There's a very good reason for this. I'll give my opinion on the song, and I'm going to try and prove a theory that I have. So, yeah, stick with it.
I'm going through Master of Puppets in my head now, trying to figure out what the hell you're on about.
You'll get it, I promise you. So it's to do with that guitar run that you guys have all mentioned. I think this is possibly my favourite song on the whole album.
Ooh.
Genuinely. Like I remember listening to it and thinking, oh yeah, Spike and Marek will be into this.
Oh, how wrong you
Yeah.
were.
My boy.
I guess I don't know you guys very well. Because I mentioned I was listening to the 2015 remaster. When I first heard that computer intro, I was like, have they like added a song, you know, from 2015 that David Bowie didn't write onto this album, or at least a section? Because I just had never even considered that something like that could be written in that sort of time period. I'm sure there is loads of experimental stuff that's on a level with that, but it like really threw me off. And then I think, you know, that riff is really good. I think the structure of it's good. I think the chorus is really catchy. I think that ending bit is like, it builds up really well, considering it's not got like, it's just like an acoustic guitar or a few acoustic guitars, as opposed to having like a load of like, you know, electronic stuff.
Yeah, when it's like
when it's
panning
just
between
building
the guitars. And
Yeah.
it's
like
a really cool. If you're listening to it with headphones
Mm-hmm.
or a decent speaker system where they're far enough apart,
Mm-hmm.
the way that everything pings back and forth on the song is really interesting. I'm a big fan of it. And he was clearly an early adopter of the stereo sort of soundscape.
I think that's one of my least favorite things about this song is just how damn catchy it is.
Yeah.
I really like how catchy it is. It's just lyrically, I don't like Andy Warhol in the first instance. To
Yeah.
have a whole song about him.
I don't think you need to like Andy Warhol.
No, but
Well, I'm
just
not
like,
the man's biggest fan.
Yeah.
Well, here's a fun thing about that. Apparently, Bowie sent an early copy of Hunky Dory to Andy Warhol, and due to Warhol's typically minimal reaction, Bowie was never sure if he liked it or not. I don't know how I'd feel if I heard a song like that with my name in it. I think I'd feel a bit uncomfortable.
Yeah, I guess. Well, yeah. You'd sort of wonder why that is. It's a reflection of yourself.
Apparently, the song was originally written for Dana Gillespie.
Yeah, it does quite work with Andy Warhol as a hook. Dana Gillespie.
I think the idea was that Dana Gillespie was supposed to sing it, not that the song was supposed to be Dana Gillespie.
So yeah, how does Master of Puppets come into all this?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm very curious about this.
I'm sure you
comes
told
in.
me the other day. but
Yeah, I
can't
feel like I
remember
mentioned it.
Don't forget royalties, no more than 7 seconds. Of
I
the clip.
know. I'm trying to like get to the bit of it. Oh, this is the bit.
We live on the edge of the law.
So, if you could, Dan, do you reckon you could play us like a really short clip of the run?
Yeah.
The dun-dun-dun-dun-dun. Play with Andy Warhol.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I kind of see that.
It's like just
Okay.
a longer version.
Okay, now hearing
Yeah?
it like that,
yeah.
yeah, no, 100%, 100%.
I told
What
you.
the fuck? What the fuck?
So yeah, Metallica owes
I
David
wouldn't
Bowie
be
royalties from their
surprised.
biggest song ever.
And
I
so,
wouldn't be surprised at all if they've nicked
No,
that.
me neither.
conspiracy theory: Andy Warhol is the Master of Puppets.
Oh my god, it's all making sense.
It's all connected. Okay.
Yeah. So nothing else to say about Andy Warhol.
Really good
No.
song.
Annoyingly, I feel like we're gonna come back
Two.
the next time we record this, and it's gonna have got stuck in my head, and I'm gonna change my mind.
It's a great song, man.
I feel it.
I think you need to give it a bit more time.
You know, I will give it another chance.
Yeah.
I will give it another chance. But Dan,
I don't think you'll ever like it. Like,
no.
No.
But
Unless
Dan,
they're doing like instrumental. version.
where exactly
Two.
would you put it? Number two.
Two.
Okay, you're actually putting it at number two.
yeah, and
I agree.
I'll be honest, I'm really torn between that and Life on Mars.
Yeah, I think it's
It's an interesting choice.
like it stood out for me immediately.
Hey,
Yeah.
So
I love
let's-
that song.
I
love
might
it.
put it in like probably my top
Although that does,
5 Bowie songs ever.
looking at your list, Dan, that
Yeah.
doesn't say good things to the end of the album.
Look, I'm not saying these next 3 are bad songs in any way. As I've said multiple times, this is my favorite album of all time. I think every song hits.
That's fair.
So I do just think that it loses a bit of steam with these last 3 songs.
Okay, so moving on to songs for Bob Dylan.
The girl of the oh, here she comes, here she comes, here she comes again. Same old plain lady from the brow of the super brain. Scratch this word.
Bob Dylan. Honestly, one of the slightly more forgettable songs on the album,
Yeah.
which I think for Bowie is a big thing because a lot of his sort of appeal is that all of his songs are kind of wacky, off the wall, and memorable.
Yeah, I do like the song. I just think it's again it's one that I feel works well pacing wise. But it's not got much going for it, I don't think, overall.
Yeah, I found myself skipping over this one after a few listens.
Yeah.
And not even particularly because there was much else after this song that I was that interested in. What are the other 2 songs after
Queen
this?
Bitch and
Oh, well.
The Bowie Brothers. Or,
Bowie Brothers.
is that how you say it?
Yeah.
However you say it.
Yeah, it's the chorus is pretty good. I feel like I'm saying that quite a lot. One thing I'll say about David Bowie, regardless of what he puts around it, the chorus is always good.
Oh yeah.
But I think Marek was about to say,
I don't know.
no, it's not.
No, it ain't.
But like, yeah, it's. I think it's a bit like you say. The album. I wouldn't say runs out of steam because obviously Queen Bitch is a highlight, but I think it's one slow song too many, like including the Bowie Brothers or Bowie Brothers.
Yeah.
I think it's a couple slow songs more than I'm happy with on an album, but it is, it's still a good song, I would say.
Yeah. I can't say anything I've not already said about the rest of the album. But it's very wordy for me. And which I guess
I think it's because it's about
Bob Dylan. Yeah, exactly. So I think in that regard, cool. It mimics his vibe anyway.
The man who writes 1,000 verses.
Yeah. But then, and this may come as a surprise for you lads, I don't like Bob Dylan.
I am not the biggest fan of Bob Dylan. I find that Bob Dylan writes way too many verses and never has a chorus.
I think the thing with Bob Dylan is he, quite early on in his career, sort of reached the end of the barrel with what his songs could be about, and then just kind of sort of was
toasted.
Yeah, just pretty much.
Until he released his Christmas album in 2012,
which, as we've already discussed, I love.
Greatest genre of
Mate,
music.
I'm sure I've told you about it before. But
It's something.
That Christmas album. It's got a song called Must Be Santa on it.
Absolute banger.
And the man has smoked so many cigarettes every day of his life.
And
that
so
his
much weed.
voice is fucked. He's just like, must be Santa. It's so good.
There's a great picture of him. He's at I think he's at a wedding, and someone has found him hidden in like a bush, eating wedding cake with his hands.
What a man.
Because he was so high.
We've all been there.
I respect that. That's what I want from my career.
Heroes.
Yeah. Heroes, great album by David Bowie.
It's a pretty good show until it got a bit bad.
Oh, that's true.
Oof, deep cut. That song was an X Factor one as well, wasn't it? They used it on X Factor.
Did they?
I think so.
I'd be upset.
What,
if
song
they
for
did.
Bob Dylan?
No, the one that's like, we could be heroes just for one.
Heroes, the song Heroes.
It was in Moulin Rouge, one of my favourite films.
It was in Perks of Being a Wallflower.
It wasn't in Mulan.
Let's get down
That's a
to
business.
Bob Dylan.
To defeat.
Bob
Dylan.
Dylan.
I've got his name is now. No, what's the last song?
Heroes.
No, Andy Warhol. That's the name. I had Hans Zimmer in my head. It's not like in the opening lyric.
Same thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
Right, Dan.
Yeah.
Where are we putting this? So we've got 8, 10, and 11 open.
I've fucking put myself into a corner here.
You got
'cause
8, 10, and 11 open. Then if you want to make
Yeah.
a change, you can.
I'm going to put it at 11 for now.
11.
Yeah.
Okay, that's fair.
I'd probably agree with that. Well, I
need
think
a
8-line
keyboard for this
poem
thing.
should be down there, but this isn't my list.
I think it's definitely the only point of the album where I'm like, if this song wasn't here, I wouldn't be distraught.
Yeah, no, I get it.
Mm-hmm.
But on to hopefully something that we can get a slightly higher rating on. Queen Bitch.
Yes.
She's so swishy in her satin and tan, in her frock coat and bibbidi bobbidi hat. Oh God, I could do better than that.
Right, we may have another lineup change. We'll get over to
We'll
that
get
though.
But that song is fun.
It's such a fun song.
It's just enjoyable
Yeah.
to listen to, just to sit around and sort of just bop your head to it.
Not to call you out on a podcast, but didn't you say that this part of the album was losing steam?
Yeah, and then I listened to the song again and I realised how fucking good this song is. Yeah.
For me,
Oh, man.
two main points. One,
I take it you don't like the lyrics in the chorus.
no, how dare you? Hang on for a second. Hang
Okay,
fire.
okay.
Queen Bitch as a song title, because obviously he's from the 70s, and I don't really know much about 70s culture. But I think he says motherfucker somewhere in the album as well.
Probably.
And it's like, I didn't realize you could get away with that in the 70s. Thought like people would turn their noses. So maybe he was like a rebel, a 70s kind of rebel.
He was definitely
he was
a rebel.
He was a rebel.
A complete
He
rebel.
was-
He was dressing like a lady and doing very strange things in a time where
Yeah,
people
so
weren't so
I
into
do
that.
that anyway.
I
sort
know
of-
you do that.
Yeah, he did the whole. I guess it was a sort of shock factor thing.
Oh
the
God, yeah,
whole
it was
glam-
100% that.
glam side of it.
Mm.
But yeah, no.
Yeah, so I appreciate that in such a time, calling a song Queen Bitch was actually kind of pushing the boat
Yeah.
out.
Mm-hmm.
And you are sort of correct. A highlight for me on this song is Bippity Boppity Hat. It takes a level of conviction as a songwriter to go, do you know what this song needs?
Bippity,
A good old
boppity
bippity and a boppity.
Mark, the man has bars.
Mate, you got big bars.
He does.
He has raised the bars. Those bippity boppity
yeah.
bars.
Oh my god. Bippity boppity can go anywhere in any bippity boppity sentence.
I push my fingers into my bippity boppity eyes.
So apparently, Barry, song is actually a tribute to Velvet Underground. And who I quite like.
That's Lou Reed, isn't it?
Yeah,
That is Lou Reed.
Who was friends with Andy Warhol.
Andy Warhol.
Mind blown. Yeah, no, it's just a really fun song.
Oh yeah. The guitar tone, as you were saying, is
The guitar
tasty.
beautiful,
Crunchy. Crispy.
The structure's great.
Yeah.
you sort of dance
it
to yourself.
doesn't die down really.
Yeah. I think, do you know what, this is gonna sound like I'm trying to do a meme, but I'm not trying to do a meme. I genuinely think this song, if this had like just a dead nice fat cowbell going, it
Mark
would be-
Cowbell.
Oh,
I got a fever.
I'm
The
gonna try and
prescription
do
is
this.
Mark
To be
Cowbell.
fair, I can
like
hear- I
because
can
it
hear what
because
you
it
mean,
it's
though.
got like a dead drive in like
Typical drummer.
I think it's a
I
four
can
to the floor
completely
beat.
imagine that.
And
in
like if it just had like in Red Morning Light, it's got the
Yeah,
like Kings
yeah.
of Leon, and just like a nice or like a woodblock or just something where you got Will Ferrell.
yeah.
belly out.
Everyone has seen that sketch, right? Because
Yeah.
Yep.
that is
Who-
my
who
favorite
wouldn't
thing
have
of all
seen
time.
that sketch?
Yeah.
You'd be surprised. I spent a year working in a studio, and every time someone would end up making that joke, and somebody would not get it.
Yeah.
Just
It's-
everyone doing like Christopher Walken impressions. They're like, "What? What are you doing?"
Why are you talking like
I
that?
got a fever. The only prescription is Mark Cowbell.
And one other thing that I know I like just immediately came to mind when I heard that song was just I could just picture them doing that live, and like when I seen videos of David Bowie playing live, and he's like standing back to back with his guitarist or whatever, and they're just like properly jamming, and I think that is one song where I could just imagine it just going off,
Yeah.
like
Oh yeah.
as much as gigs in the
pits.
70s do go off, like
Wall of Death just starts.
yeah, but yeah,
Oh, I
it is
definitely
just
know
a good laugh.
Yeah.
Yep.
Anything else to add?
Okay, so
No.
Dan, what are you about to do to this list that I've spent a lot of time creating?
Bippity boppity, fuck it right up.
You're not wrong. So we're gonna put it in at number 5.
Number 5.
I'm gonna shift everything down, but not like the last few. So because
You're gonna
8's
shift-
currently blank, yeah.
Yeah, so you can move 8-line poem down to 8,
Yeah,
which I think
changes
fits very
down.
well.
In fact, change is gonna stay where it is.
Change is going to stay where it
Oh,
is.
you pretty thing's gonna go under that. And then
Okay, so we've taken 8-line poem down to number 8, which, haha, that makes me happy. And then you wanted to keep 7.
I want to keep changes where it is.
Keep
and
changing.
put Oh You Pretty Things down to 7.
Really? So far we've had 2 changes on where you want that to be.
Yeah.
I think it's fascinating.
And then it's gonna go at number 5.
Cool. So you want that
Classy.
there. So then we're putting 5. We're putting.
Just had a very big shiver down my spine at the realization that at any moment one of you could just whip out an Oasis album on me.
Oh,
Don't do that.
Christ.
Don't do that.
We should make a pact.
We could never do that to you.
Thank you.
No one should have
No
to go
Oasis.
through
No
that.
Oasis.
There's some
That's
there's
your
some
veto.
good Oasis stuff.
There's some good Oasis songs, definitely. I could happily listen to a greatest hits of Oasis, like Lila.
Greatest hits like Lila and.
I was just. It was mainly because I was trying to remember. Is it Layla or Lila?
It is
Layla's the
Lila.
Eric Clapton one.
Yeah.
Lila, cigarettes and alcohol.
Importance of Being Idle is the
Importance of
only
Being
good
Idle.
Oasis song.
I don't even like it that much, but it is a good song.
Champagne Supernova.
Champagne Supernova. She's Electric. What's the other one that's a bit like
Wonderwall.
cigarettes and alcohol?
Don't.
Nope. Roll with it. Roll with it is good. There's another one
Don't
that I'm
Look Back
trying
in
to think
Anger.
of. What's the Story, Morning Glory? It's
What's the story?
one of the
Morning
best
Glory is great.
rock
pretty
songs
good.
maybe ever.
But yeah, a full Oasis album. My
It's a
God, they
struggle.
drag shit out.
It's a struggle.
Actually, as someone was saying that, I was yawning. That's not.
Yeah.
That wasn't actually because of it, but it works quite
Have
well.
you ever listened to what's the third album? The one that was their downfall.
Oh, is that the one that Lila's on?
No, that
Oh,
was
really? They'd already
that was
fallen.
like 2000.
I'm trying to
Yeah,
remember.
that's
or
late.
something,
Trying to remember
wasn't
which one
I'm
was
not
it.
sure.
I like that
can
Apple
Google it.
Music there is showing you I did my homework.
Oh yeah.
Hey, Spotify, you.
Anyway,
godless heathens.
we're over 2 hours.
Oh,
So the
shit.
We've
Boulay
still
or
got topics to
Bowie.
get to. Right.
Yeah,
So then
exactly.
we'll move on to the final song, and actually the longest song on the album.
Mm.
Yeah. So the what? How are we pronouncing this?
I think it's
Bowie.
Bewley.
Bewley.
Oh, Bewley. Yeah, possibly.
See, I'm gonna go on the thing so they have a. They
Phonetic.
don't have a way of
I'm
how to
going
pronounce
with
it
the
properly.
Bewley brothers for now.
Fair enough.
Just wondering how many like hardcore Bowie fans we're pissing off, and how many Beatles fans I've pissed off, and how many Oasis fans I've pissed off, how many listeners of this podcast I've
I
pissed
know,
off.
Oasis are gonna come for all of us.
The devil made me here, but he can't sing about that. Oh, and we were gone. Real cool traders. We were so turned on.
So
Thought we were
this song feels to me like it was written for a musical or something.
Mm-hmm.
I can see exactly. It feels very concept album-y to me.
Yeah,
Mm.
I'm a fan of it.
Also, I'm a fan of you saying this song because we're all a bit not sure how to pronounce it.
Yeah. There's the BB song.
Yeah, I'm tired of saying how much I like this album,
Yeah.
I'm tired of saying much I don't like this album.
but it's a really good song, and I think it's a great way to finish it.
Mm-hmm.
Whether it's like a top ranking song on the album is a different question.
Well, apparently it's been described as probably Bowie's densest and most impenetrable song. Whatever the hell that means.
Yeah.
Music journalism.
Wait.
No, the imagery and the lyrics are pretty cool. I've got the lyrics up here. The highlights are such as crust of the sun, flashing teeth of brass. There was a specific one I quite liked.
Well, very visual imagery.
I like the "we were so turned on by your lack of conclusions,"
Yeah,
and then I also do like the "he's chameleon, comedian, Corinthian, and caricature." I do like that.
Do you reckon that line actually means anything, or is he just like,
No,
these
I
are
don't
all
think
words
so.
that start with C and have
Again.
lots of syllables?
This is the sort of back to the idea that he literally just put a bunch of hats, like words in a hat, and pulled out
bunch
bunch of hats in a hat.
hats in a hat.
Put a bunch of hats together.
I mean, the man was on cocaine. You can't trust anything he'll do.
He just starts shouting at this pile of hats, like, write me a song.
Corinthian just yelling that at hats, and someone's just started recording him.
Yeah.
But the actual ending section is weird, and I don't like it.
That scares me.
It's very conceptual. I enjoy that.
This
sometimes.
whole song, it feels like you can draw a lot of meaning from it, even if he intended none.
Mhm.
And I really enjoy it when you can do that with a song. And I think it's definitely because a lot of his songs, I don't feel do that, especially in this sort of era.
Andy Warhol.
Andy Warhol, I don't see what meaning you could take from it. I think it is. I love the song, but I think it's sort of just a weird, kooky song.
It's funny you should say that because apparently Bowie told the producer Ken Scott that this track was for the American market because the Americans like to read into things,
Yeah.
even though the lyrics make absolutely no sense.
Exactly.
So even he knows, like, I don't know. Just you do that. You do the
Yeah.
legwork.
But I think just because
Wait.
I don't want to get onto I had this debate so many times.
I'm
in-
sorry, I
in
just need to
college.
quickly just say the next thing he said was, I wouldn't know how to interpret the lyrics of this song other than suggest that there are layers of ghosts within it. That is a man on a hefty amount of cocaine right
I
there.
respect that.
Yeah, but no, just because there isn't intent of meaning doesn't mean there's not meaning. You know. I find it really interesting to what people. No, I don't particularly have my own ideas of what the song does mean, but like reading into what people think it means.
The fact that it's open
quite
to that.
interesting. Yeah.
That you can take your own meaning from it, and that's sort of the point of the song is
Yeah.
for you to find your meaning. I wouldn't have looked at it that way, but I guess that is quite enjoyable, and I would again say it's I've said conceptual quite a few times, but I say it's one of the more interesting songs on the album. It's definitely trying to do its own thing, which I really enjoy.
Lay me place and bake me pie. I'm starving for me gravy. Any
Oh.
any insights into that, boys? What kind of meaning we pulling from that?
We'll send this to the
Hungry
north, boys.
Well, when he says me, he actually means my. So
When he says gravy,
he means gravy.
Great.
Gravy.
Right.
All I would have to say on this song is just that I think it has maybe like we mentioned about it being in a film.
Yeah.
It's definitely cinematic. I think a lot of the guitar tones and that like whatever effect. I don't know what effect he has because I'm, like I say, a drummer. But yeah, I don't know. It's a strange one.
Mm-hmm.
But every time that like chorus-ish pseudo chorus comes in, I always find myself like paying more attention there.
Do you think this song could benefit from more cowbell?
Yeah, definitely.
I gotta have more cowbell.
Just like non-stop, like not even to a beat, just like someone just wailing on it, like
Wailing on a cowbell.
yeah.
Sounds good to me.
There's definitely sort of a soundscape kind of feel to it, which is quite enjoyable, especially when mixed in an album with things like Life on Mars.
Mm-hmm.
So you got the big hitters, and then you got something a bit more sort of expressive at the end. It's definitely more for his enjoyment.
Mm-hmm.
But the question is, where does it go on Dan's rankings?
It sits in there at 10.
At 10? No worries.
I'm
just going to
call it I really enjoy
because
the
I don't
song,
want to spell that.
but it's
Okay, and that is a couple of sort of closing notes on the album as a whole.
I was saying earlier that I was struggling a bit to talk about each song individually because I feel that the album works really well as an album, first and foremost. I think it's possibly the best structured album, just in my opinion, that's been released.
It certainly ebbs and flows.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So there's different sort of high points and lower points that all seem to fit together right when they need to.
Yeah.
I would agree with that.
All right. I'd say... Sorry, did you have a point there?
Oh, no, you go.
Oh, okay. I was just going to say, I gave it a good go. I'm not typically someone who does listen to albums front to back, although when I do, I always...
fun time on this
podcast.
I know,
I would say whenever I do, I feel like I benefit from it, so it's definitely a good habit to get into. Listen to a fair amount of David Bowie stuff, but mainly just the really popular ones.
Mm-hmm.
And he sort of spans, decades basically, so there's a lot of stuff to get through. But I would say that album has made me want to listen to more David Bowie and like get more thoroughly into the stuff that he's written.
If we're closing off in that way, I would say that whilst I did enjoy it, like it's not something. It's not that I outright hate the album. It's not that I don't like the album. I do like the album. You are right. I don't think I could put Andy Warhol in a playlist, but when it's in context of the album, I like it. But I couldn't just like pop to the shops and have it in my ears.
Yeah, that's fair enough.
I think this is an album I would love to own for like on vinyl and have whenever I wanted to just sit down and properly listen to an album. And definitely has some of the songs on it are huge for me and that I love. That sounded like I was building to a negative, but I don't have one. I don't have one.
Fair enough.
It's a nice album.
Well, what I would say is if you or any of the listeners are intending on buying the album on vinyl, get the original, get one of the first pressings, or like within the first few years, because the remasters are not good. And also, if anyone enjoys this album in particular, listen to that. Is it a tetralogy? Is that 4?
No, it'd be a quadology.
No, because
it's trial of 3.
It's some weird, because you'd think it'd go to quad or whatever, but it's some weird thing.
I think you're right.
Yeah. But yeah, listen to that run of 4 albums. He released an album a year between 71 and 74, which is Hunky Dory, Ziggy Stardust and the Spiders from Mars. I think it's Diamond Dogs and then Aladdin Sane, because they're all similar albums, but they're really interesting, all of them. And then obviously there's Heroes and Low, and there's another one in that trilogy of albums that he recorded in Berlin. And they're all really interesting. They're quite different to this.
Hunky Dory, Rise and Fall of Ziggy Stardust and the Spiders from Mars, Aladdin Sane,
Pinups.
Pinups.
Pinups is that doesn't count to me because it's a covers record.
So then the one after that is Diamond Dogs, and then before Hunky Dory you have The Man Who Sold the World.
That's the one that's got.
So, Man Who Sold the World, Hunky Dory, Rise and Fall of Ziggy Stardust, and Spiders from Mars, and then Aladdin Sane.
But yeah, so I think that about rounds up.
Before we do that, we need to quickly go through Dan's rankings.
I think
rankings.
that is the final ranking.
The final rankings. At number 11, we have Songs for Bob
Songs for Dead.
Apparently so. Songs for Bob Dylan. At number 10, we have that one we can't pronounce. At 9, we have Kooks. At 8, we have 8-Line Poem. That's wonderful. At 7, we have Oh You Pretty Thing. At 6, we have Changes. At 5, we have Queen Bitch. At 4, Fill Your Heart. 3, Quicksand. 2, Andy Warhol. And number 1, Life on Mars. Because, I mean,
That's a
of
good
course.
list.
I don't think you can.
You can't
As much as I want to put Andy Warhol first, I don't think you can
Life
put
on Mars.
another song first from this album.
Yeah,
No, I
it's,
don't think
it's
so.
Life on Mars makes this album.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't really know which album Life on Mars was on, and when I found out that it was the album that I was going to be listening to this week, I was like excited.
I had that as well. I had that with Life on Mars and with Changes.
Mm-hmm.
So I was excited for this album.
All right, cool. So should we go on to the next section first, or should we hear what Marek's album is first?
Do we want to do a
if we-
preview of that, or do we want to just put that right at the end?
I reckon if we talk about like stuff we're listening to,
Yeah.
and then we can sort of go with your
Yeah.
album
Yeah,
as a
sound.
closer.
Yeah.
So are we doing stuff we're listening to, or are we doing are we bringing like a topic? Because I have sort of a kind of a listening to topic kind of thing.
Like
Okay.
what we want, really.
A talking point.
Do you want to go? Who wants to go?
If you want to go first, you got something planned.
I can go first. Okay, so the thing I want to talk about is, and it's probably something you'll hear me talk about a lot on the podcast because I am a big Frank Turner fan.
Called it.
I'm a big Frank Turner fan, so you're likely going to hear me talk about him quite a lot. But he's doing something quite interesting recently. His new album is about sort of forgotten women of history. And so it's going to be 7 songs, and I believe that's right. And for every song that comes out, he's going to have an episode of a podcast that is going to go over specifically who he was talking about and why they were so important. So I want to throw that out and sort of talk about other kinds of, like, having something like that to go along with your releases. Do we think that's a good thing? Do we think that's...
Well, so a different sort of form of media.
Yeah, so having that attached
as
to...
a companion piece.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
Well, I'll come right out and say Foo Fighters started it with the Sonic Highways documentary.
Right.
Perfected it then and there. 'Cause they're the greatest band in the world.
Sonic Highways is
Is
an
an
great
incredible
documentary.
Yeah, it's a really good
But
documentary.
it's a really bad album.
That's your opinion. I disagree wholeheartedly with that
Getting
opinion.
heated, boys.
No, I do agree. I mean, for me, that sounds like something I would want to. The Frank Turner podcast series, I quite like history. I think it's a good topic, a good angle, I suppose, to come at. So it's something that I would be interested in. I think, like, wider, you see a lot, like bands nowadays that are, doing well on touring. If we would take like Don Broco as an example, or Architects as another one where I've seen a lot of stuff, they will have nowadays like a photographer who will like just film their entire travels and upload it to social media, stuff like that. Architects did it really well like last year, I think. Like sort of the obviously their guitarist passed away.
I can't remember what he played in the band.
I think he was the guitarist.
I will say, because I picture you, like I put you and Dan in the same group, so hear you talking about architecture, I'm like, what?
I probably should get into more of them, but I did, I liked a lot of their songs, and I thought, I saw them, they did Reading and Leeds that year, and it had been like the kind of the build up, and they played Ali Pali as well, and really, really good. But like, I think I was trying to stay on topic with the question. I think nowadays, well, it's slightly different because it's, I suppose you could say that the podcast that Frank Turner's doing, they're like almost another art form in a way, whereas the photography and the videos of their tours are just kind of like documenting.
That's sort of part of the course. I think if you do a tour, you'll normally have a photographer or something.
Right.
I think this podcast thing's a bit different.
Yeah, I'd say so.
I think it's one of those things where, especially with these songs, because they're all about certain women in history and sort of talking about their influence, you can't really fit all that into a song.
No.
So having a podcast that sort of accompanies it, saying, okay, this is what the song's about. This is the influence
The
of
backstory.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like the idea of it. Obviously, I haven't seen any of it. I haven't
I'd
listened to
recommend-
any of the podcasts.
I'd recommend giving
Or
the
heard the
the songs that a listen. At least.
Yeah, I do worry sometimes that if a song is overly explained, then it can take something away from it.
I get
But-
that.
At the same time, I think for that's not something that most people are going to go and listen to,
Yeah.
unless you're like a pretty hardcore fan of Frank Turner.
Say as if you bought both of his books, all of his albums.
And I think that
Did I ever tell you that I met Frank?
Yeah,
Turner?
let's not go into this. Let's not go into Spike being bitter.
but I think that if you're, to be fair, if you're a really big fan of Frank Turner, then it is quite an interesting thing to then go and look at how he interprets his own songs.
Mhm.
So yeah, I think it's a pretty cool thing. As Jim said with the Sonic Highways documentary as well, I really enjoyed that. I think the issue with Sonic Highways is that that felt to me like the documentary was made.
Mhm.
That was like the first sort of thing.
Yeah.
My main issue with Sonic Highways as a whole is that it feels like they have a really good concept,
Mm-hmm.
but they've just tried to cram an album into a concept.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that resulted in lackluster songs.
I think it could have done better just being maybe like an EP where maybe they could have had,
Yeah.
because they interviewed a lot of these famous artists
Mhm.
from basically I think it was like 8 cities around America with music heritage. Why not maybe not have it as a Foo Fighters album, because 8 songs is too short for an album, in my opinion.
So it was only 8 songs on that album.
8
Yeah.
songs, yeah.
And I bought that thing.
I mean, I
Fucking
still
paid full price.
still love it, but I was really disappointed when I heard it. Like, I'd been waiting like 3 years and 8 songs was all I was getting. But maybe just have it as an EP. Maybe have the musicians that you're interviewing feature more prominently in it. I know they had people come in and play and like took influence from different musicians, things like that. But maybe have it as more of an EP, as more of a collaborative thing, than trying to say this is a Foo Fighters album, despite the fact that we've just put a brass band like section into the New Orleans one. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It didn't really need to be there.
Yeah.
So I was just saying, it's medication's making me a bit woozy. You guys aren't boring me.
No,
I assure you.
I thought you were just going meditation.
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 I'm meditating.
Meditation.
We need to
No,
meditate.
it's making me a bit drowsy. I swear to God, you guys aren't boring me.
On the note of the Frank Turner podcast,
Mhm.
I think the best bit about all that is it's all optional. Like, you don't have
Oh, yeah.
to sit through
Yeah.
that content.
Yeah.
But I like that it's there to supplement the original art.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Catch-22 maybe though, because obviously it goes up, but he's saying that we're in a world where there's so much content for everything.
Mhm.
So you add the extra content to make your stuff stand out. But then everyone else is doing that, so there's just more and more content, and it just gets
Drowns
hard to
it
keep
all
track of. Yeah.
Mhm.
But otherwise, it's all optional.
Yes, I
So-
think that's good.
Yeah.
Yes, I just wanted to bring that forward because I thought that was a really sort of fascinating thing to be
Yeah.
doing, and I
Agree.
like talking about Frank Turner. Guess what's top of my release radar on Spotify?
Is it Frank Turner?
It's Deluded.
That's because you got a fucking banger on your hands there.
Wait, why is?
Wait, Deluded.
Oh, it's
By-
shit, yeah.
By
and an
local
acoustic
Cardiff
version
band Sienna. Right.
Who sponsored this episode of the podcast?
Trust me, there'll be enough
Check
of
the
that
space
song in
riff.
this podcast already.
Dude,
And if you don't think
I'll
there
quickly go from my release. So I told you guys to bring a single or an EP. I've chosen album.
of course.
Cheers, Dan.
You
It
already
was
did that.
no, it was one that I did intend to cover later down the line,
Mm-hmm.
but unfortunately, I was bitterly disappointed by this album.
Oof.
So yeah, so Mini Mansions released a new album last week. I know you don't really listen to it.
Oh no, I'm just impressed that it's episode 1 and you're going straight for the throat.
Look,
Bitterly disappointed.
well, that'll upset you then, because at some point I am going to choose their second album, the Great Pretenders, which I thought was a different name, but I'm not going to.
Oh, is it not called The Great Escape?
It's not called the Great Escape. It's called the Great
I
Pretenders.
think Great Escape's the song by Boys Like
Boys
Girls.
Like Girls.
Yeah, yeah.
It's also a very famous film.
It's also a very good cover by Johnny.
Shout out to Johnny. Feed
Yeah.
the fire, baby.
So yeah, Guy Walks Into a Bar is the name of the most recent Mini
Oh,
Mansions
it's
album.
not, is it?
It is.
You know, I like that. Why not?
And look, it's got some decent songs on it. But basically, the whole appeal for me from the second Mini Mansions album is that it had Alex Turner on it. No,
Did it actually have Alex Turner?
it did actually have Alex Turner on it.
Right, moving on then.
He's phrasing it like a joke, but he means it.
Yeah.
No, but it was an album where every song was really enjoyable to listen to
Because of
none
Alex Turner.
Because of Alex Turner. No, he was only on one song, but none of it was something that I'd predict. Everything was a bit all over the place. It was a massive soundscape style album. There's a track on it called Mirror Mountain, which is just madness and noise for the whole track. It's incredible. It's one of my favourite albums of like the past 10 years. And for them to release such a straight down the middle rock and roll record was such a disappointment. Because Great Pretenders it's such a different album to anything else I've heard. And then to just hear them doing 4/4 rock beats and bar chords and really boring vocals was really disappointing.
Yeah, I can see what you mean. It is kind of disappointing when you've been set up to expect something like completely different and something that's not even trying to be like everything else, and that's what you love about it. And when it comes around and it's...
I don't know if they're trying to get more of a following now. Like it's much more commercial, which I don't have an issue with bands going in more of a commercial direction, because that can be just as interesting as the wacky stuff. But man, they didn't do a good job of it. It's just it's disappointment.
Well, I think maybe they might still be finding their feet with it.
Yeah, but like, it's not like they need to make this band massive because the keyboard player plays for the Arctic Monkeys and the lead, like the front man, plays in Queens of the Stone Age.
Yeah, to be fair, they do all right with that.
So
Pretty
they've got
solid
pretty
gigs.
decent careers
Yeah.
as is. But yeah,
Mm.
disappointing album. So that's one I'm throwing out this week.
Okay.
I'm going to throw out, it's a little bit old now, but I'm going to throw out my boys in Nightlives. They put out a song called Under the Radar, and I think it fucking slaps. Also, the video they shot for it was like old school horror films and like,
Mm.
oh, it was so
Is that the one that you're in?
No, oh, you know, secrets here. I'm in the next one,
Okay.
which is called
It's a little slice official scoop.
a little slice scoop there. Marek said hi, frontman of Scavengers, featuring in the new Nightlives video. For literally all of 2 seconds, I've got this scar, right? I'm gonna call him out on this one. Caleb, the drummer of Nightlives, got this scar because he dragged me over broken glass.
I remember you coming
Nice.
back covered in blood.
Yeah, it was great. I was like, don't worry, I'll look after your lab coat. Came back, oh, sorry, mate, got blood on it now.
Yeah, I really appreciated that.
But yeah, Under the Radar. If any of our listeners at home are,
Yeah, go give that
not
a spin.
necessarily at home, you could
Do
be on
it.
the bus.
Do you want
That's
to
Frank
run
Turner.
down what
Yeah,
sort
reference.
of
I
music
caught
it
that.
is?
We were just saying, you said about listening to a song on a bus, which is a lyric from Four Simple Words by Frank Turner.
It is indeed, yes. Maybe you're sitting on the back of the bus, or
It's running up your
sleeve
sleeve and you're across from your boss.
Keep going. Keep going.
Or
No,
you're sitting on
you
your
only
own in your
remember your
room
head.
with the lights down low.
Oh, so low.
Keep going. We're on
I'd like
2.5
to
hours.
teach you.
Okay.
Yeah, I could do that for hours, so let's not
Um,
get stuck there.
Just give me one fine day of plain sailing weather. Anyway,
Sure.
to be fair, yeah, Nightlives, they are, I think they call themselves electro punk. I think that's what they give themselves.
He wears a mask.
He does wear a mask.
Neon mask.
A neon mask. Yeah, they're just good friends of mine. Very cool. They absolutely killed their first headline show, or their first Cardiff headline show yesterday, which I guess dates this episode. And yeah, there you go. Under the Radar. Cool. Give it a spin, boys.
Very good.
Are we suggesting songs now? Is that sort of
I think so.
We'll suggest something that's coming.
I was just going to
Okay,
just speak
cool.
about something that sort of... so I'll go next. So for me, it would be a band called Sir. So that's S, I guess OEUR, but it's the French OE where they're joined together. So I have Sir's Twitter bio here. They are a dual I'll try that one again. A dual-fronted three-piece making pop songs drenched in grunge-heavy noise with math rock seeping through the seams, and I don't think I could really do a better job of
That was
summing
a hefty
everything
bio.
up. That's like a real tongue twister.
Someone spent some time on that.
Yeah, definitely. But they just put out, I want to say it was maybe like 2 weeks ago, a new song called "Do What I Want," which is just, it's more of what I've come to expect from them based off everything that they've been releasing recently, which I mean in a good way, because it is, you know, it's really catchy. Like, it's well written stuff that, you know, I think anyone can enjoy, whether you're someone who is more on that math rock side of, like, you know, you're into like mad intricate guitar playing and weird time signatures, things like that, or if you're more into just hearing like two girls who can really sing and also really play their instruments, and the drummer is really, really good as well, which always helps. So I would say that Sir would be my recommendation.
Cool.
Okay. For me, it would have to be. I haven't actually been listening to a lot of new music recently, but
I don't think it has to be new. Just chucks.
Oh, no, I do have something for this, but
Cool.
just about. So obviously the Frank Turner thing, the album's come out. Very excited for that. But I could harp on about it for hours, so I'm not going to. Girl in Red is a girl on YouTube who literally just does little songs. It's basically just her with a guitar in front of a camera, and they're always quite emotional and I think very authentic, and I really enjoy it. So she just came out with "I'll Die Anyway," which is as happy as it sounds, but
My kind of vibe.
it has the sort of like late night vibe that I'm really into. Sort of late night indie, sort of slightly depressing vibe. So I recommend it.
Nice.
No, it is quite hauntingly sort of wonderful and beautiful.
Cool.
Very good.
Sounds good. Well, I think that about wraps things up. Does it?
I guess that leaves it for the highlight of the podcast.
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
Plugging our own crap.
No,
No,
I'm going to
we-
plug the album for next week.
Yeah, we got to
Oh,
hear,
yes.
hear Marek's album.
Yeah.
Will I know
Here
it?
we go.
I hope
Will
not.
I have heard of the band?
You maybe. So obviously, bit of context. Obviously, as I've said most of the way through this, is I don't like David Bowie. I didn't. Yeah, Hunky Dory is alright. Yeah, but I know that Dan chose it specifically because you knew I wouldn't enjoy it. So I'm going to choose an album that I know specifically you won't enjoy.
Uh-oh.
All right, here we go.
So my album for the next episode. Drum roll, please.
You can definitely edit one in.
Why am I doing this? We have a drummer.
Is I choose 2016's Low Teens by Every Time I Die.
Oh, that's an emo name.
It's a little bit of a...
There we go.
That's a
Slightly
really
more
good riff.
aggressive than the last album.
It is much more of an aggressive punt.
I'm looking forward to that, actually.
Cool.
A lot of energy. And it features Brendan Urie of Panic at the Disco.
Oh,
There
really?
you go.
Nice.
Okay.
So
Well, we've got a 3-hour road trip tomorrow, so we'll just spin it
Yeah.
front to back on that road
Spin
trip.
it.
There
and
you
then
go.
sounds good.
We'll get out the car, like, doing, like, swing kicks and, like, crowd killing.
Crowd killing in the pits, hell yeah.
Yeah. It's not one of my all-time favorite albums.
15 tracks. All right.
Oof.
Cool.
Yeah.
15. Okay.
All right, my next pick has 15 tracks.
Oh, good.
As well.
Excellent.
Mine has no one in it.
I guess that about wraps it up for this week.
Yep, that's
Mhm.
everything for this week.
Cool.
Thank you for listening.
Thank you for listening. Yeah.
If you're my grandmother, I apologize for swearing. If you're not my grandmother, I don't give a shit.
Oh, my God.
can
Oh, Lord.
Yeah, so I've been down. You can listen. You can listen to my band Sienna right now on Apple Music and Spotify and all that stuff. We've just released an EP called Handshakes of Formal Attire. So go spin that if you guys want to say where they can find you and if you've got any music out. That's mainly aimed at you, Marek.
I was gonna say, yeah, I've been Marek. Marek's at High on Twitter, frontman of local band Scavengers. Find us Scavengers UK on all your favorite social medias. Peace.
My name's James, and I've done fuck all for the past 3 years.
But they can follow you on Twitter.
They shouldn't.
Wait, I didn't know you had Twitter.
I do, and it's literally just me retweeting stuff about American politics and how much Donald Trump is a
Make it sound so
fucking
appealing.
loser. Yeah, I know, it's really interesting. Like, my best friends have threatened to stop following me on Twitter.
I'm guessing
So-
we've not set up little slice social medias yet.
No, but this So if we've made any topical references, it's going out 3 weeks later, so they won't be topical anymore.
Yeah.
So I've got a lot of time to set up the social media.
So you can follow us on
Yeah,
Napster.
Napster.
On blank.
Just get like Siri voice to.
I'll fill this in here.
Cool.
And yeah, I'm Spike. I will have a selection of social media and stuff to follow upon the next podcast. More cowbell.
Days.
There we go.
Cool.
More cowbell.
More
All right, so
cowbell.
More cowbell.
cheers for listening. It's been a little slice.
Little
Peace.
slice.
Ba-da-ba-ba-ba-ba.
Little slice.